at ziprecruiter.com/free.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. This hour is presented by Subaru of Gwinnett. You'll love the difference. The Morning Extra, only on Extra 106.3.
Morning, y'all. Happy Friday to you. And maybe you're leaving work early. Or maybe, I don't know why you'd be up if you don't work today, like you've taken the day off for the long weekend. But welcome to the Morning Extra. Tug and Los, along with Jeray. We're delighted you're here.
It's not unusual that when I leave the house, everyone else is asleep.
Yeah.
What is unusual is now that they have their first day of summer, I don't know when those girls are going to wake up.
About 2.
More than likely.
Dude.
I went to bed last night. Like, I kind of walked the house a little bit. Like, I fell asleep, nodded off in the basement, and I got up and started walking through the house. And it's about 10:45, and I see my 14-year-old just over in the loft, just playing some games, watching some, and I'm like, this is going to go in probably till 1:30 in the morning.
Easy.
So, enjoy the summer.
Absolutely.
I was like, I'll be over here in the bedroom. I got to work in the morning.
School's out for summer. A little AC for you this morning. I know Jacob, obviously he's a little older than your girls, but he does the same thing. When, this 3-week period, now he leaves, next Thursday for Summer League up in North Carolina.
He just walks through the house in his underwear and tells, like, hey, Tug.
Hand in his pants like...
We're out of cereal, Tug.
Out of Al Bundy. And you better get some.
Where's the milk, Tug?
Why ain't we got it? Where's it at? What's the problem? Is there some delivery service I can call?
How's my meat on the grill, Tug?
Why aren't you cooking? Why are you away from the grill? Your station is the grill. Just, Mom, meatloaf. That's right. No, he's the exact same way. He stays up, like last night. Not even last night. Every day this week, I've gone to bed and he's not been home. He's been out with his buds, man. They're all home from college. This is the group of kids that he's been thick as thieves with, about 8 guys, since they were in 8th grade. How old are you in the 8th grade? Your daughter's just finished 8th.
Yeah, 14.
So they've been best buds, since they were 14 years old. And some of them even before that. Jacob was a little late to the group. A lot of them are, 8 and 10. But that's what you do, man. That's the beauty of summer break. I mean, gosh, we did the same thing, right?
Yeah. I would make it a point. I'd be done with Little League Baseball. I would get home, and now it was time to jump on the computer. Now it was time for me to play like endless amounts of computer games, and this would be 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning. It was so late, and it's funny how, your life finds this weird symmetry. I would be up so late that there was a 3 a.m. showing of the Rush Limbaugh show, the television show. And that was my first exposure as like a middle schooler to politics. And I would sit there and watch for a little while and be like, well, that's kind of interesting, to the point where I asked my mother when she was like, hey, what about some summer reading? And I was like, well, I was watching this TV show. There's a book called The Way Things Ought to Be.
Yeah.
And could you buy it for me?
And she's probably,
why does he want this Rush Limbaugh book?
Who is this child?
So yeah, my summers led me to baseball, computer gaming, 3 a.m. Rush Limbaugh.
That's awesome, dude. That's so good. It's there's just nothing. I don't think there's anything better than summer break, man. Just you remember the movie Meatballs?
Oh, of course, yeah. Really cheesy 80s movie, but
so good.
Well, everybody wants that camp experience.
Yes, they do. You're exactly right. Bill Murray's the camp, whatever, the head director, of the camp. He's the director of the camp. Who doesn't want to go to camp with freaking Bill Murray? I mean, I would go to camp with Bill Murray today. You got that kid, he's He's kind of the kid that got beat up, and then he wins it at the end. He runs the long race.
Meatballs. I had Ernest Goes to Camp.
Dude, Ernest Goes to Camp was good, too.
That was a pretty big finish.
Dude, Jim Varney, strong. Come on, dude.
So as you send your kids off to camp or wherever else, just, it's not, those are the ideals that we had in the 80s of what camp was supposed to be.
That's right.
I would hopefully it's considerably more refined now.
Maybe so. Or maybe not. Maybe it's gone the other way and it's gotten better. Just all off the rails on the crazy train the entire time. Dude, I think it's great. That's what I like to see. Anyway, so enjoy it if you got the kids home. If they're hanging out and probably staying up too late, it'll last for a few months and then they'll have to get back on the horse and do the right thing. But let them be kids. God, they got the rest of their lives to have responsibility. Just be kids.
I said this to my 14-year-old daughter. Because the other day we told her, hey, you got to work out today. She's like, oh, you're all going to make me go? And my wife turns into, we're not making you do anything.
No, that's
it's
right.
like you choose to do. And so I had a very simple view of this. I was like, if you don't want to go, that's totally fine. That's up to you. If you don't want to get in this extra work, totally good. I go, but here's how your life is. I was like, you can choose to work on things that you love, such as what you're playing, or you can spend the rest of your life working at things that you don't like one bit.
It's up to you.
And it's up to you. It's like if you put in the work now, chances are you might get to do something you love. If you choose to just kind of be the wayward soul and, well, I'll get around to it, then you're going to spend your whole life working on things that you don't like doing.
And let me tell you.
And it gets long.
Anybody that is doing that right now will say, do what you love because they are trapped in doing, something that they don't. And look, I would say, 50%? I bet half of people.
Half of people will say
love what they do.
Right. It's the whole idea. Like you want to find a calling, and whether that's law enforcement or whether that's teaching or whether that's just working at people's homes or some sort of construction element where you get to work on something. At the end of the day, you go, man, that looks good. Dude. I find something where it doesn't feel like the work.
Yes. Last night I hosted an event, moderated, I guess is what I did. Moderated an event for the National Medal of Honor Center for Leadership.
It was a strongman competition, and you were going up against some SEALs and
Rangers.
I
got my ass kicked. No.
You guys seem pretty tough, but have you dealt with Tug?
That's right. You don't know what you're dealing with right now.
Pretty cool event, though.
So cool, dude. 2 Medal of Honor winners in one spot. We're in Buckhead. We're at the right there at the Roost Chris Steakhouse, and a guy named Edward Byers, Master Chief Navy Medal of Honor recipient, just incredible dude. And the other guy was Leroy Petrie, and Leroy, United States Army Staff Sergeant, War on Terrorism in Afghanistan. Grenade came into his battalion. He thinks quick. Picks it up, throws it, saves lives, loses his hand in the process, but a Medal of Honor winner. These guys' stories are unbelievable. The way that they describe their service, and I'll say, when I downplay my service, I do it because there's so many other people that I think deserve the attention for the service that they did. And I always, man, I'm the best toilet scrubber. And I did, man. I'm not kidding. I scrubbed a lot of toilets. But, there was other things involved in there. But it's funny to see guys like the 2 that I met last night and moderated this event and were able to ask questions on behalf of Truist Bank and all the other sponsors and then just other veterans and people there to see these guys speak. They do the same thing.
Yeah.
I asked them, I was like, do you ever feel overwhelmed by being an actual hero? I use the example of, Freddie Freeman or Matt Olson walks it off and he's the hero of the night. And I was like, that's used, flippantly. You're an actual hero. And neither one of them accepted that.
So I love the Netflix series Medal of Honor. Like there's only one season, but it's 10 episodes. And first off, the Medal of Honor is what it is, where it's they all have their own version for whatever the service is, but it's still the Medal of Honor. Like they're all shaped a little bit differently depending on what end of the service that you ended up getting it from. But the idea that it has to be documented and it has to be one of those moments where it's almost superhuman at times, where somebody will make a decision that everyone knows this person's probably not going to survive this, but he's doing it for everyone else, or he's doing it for this mission. And when they do survive, and now they're there to talk about it, it's almost surreal. Because when you read through these moments, most of them are like, you're not getting out of that. Like, you're not supposed to. That's part of the reason why you get the medal, because you're in a moment you're not supposed to get out of.
And we were talking about courage and bravery, and Master Chief Byers said there's a difference. Courage is something that you plan to do. Like, you're going into something knowing, like you're talking about, like we may not come out of this, but you have the courage to go do it. He was like, bravery is when you act without thinking about it. Like, you're brave. You just do what needs to be done in the moment that it needs to be done. And I'd never heard them distinguished before, and maybe that is simple for everybody else, but when I heard it, man, the hair on the back of my neck stood up.
So I ended up, and this was early part of the week, and I highly suggest it. So Netflix does have a manhunt series that is focused on the hunt for Osama bin Laden, but they do it from a counterterrorism CIA perspective. And so the administrations, both the Bush administration and the Obama administration, are highlighted in that. They're talking about a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. But by the time they get to the operational point and they start talking to the Navy SEALs involved, to hear the stories of, you're writing letters. Like, they knew this mission that they were going to go on in order to go kill Osama bin Laden. As much as we look at it like great success and everybody got out of there and everybody, they were all resigned to the fact we're not getting out of there. And so they all wrote letters to the children they knew they weren't going to be there for. And so to get through that, to then, as you say, it's the bravery is the reaction. The heroism is you went to go do a job that you were pretty much told you're not coming back home from this, and yet you did it anyway. And you went and did it anyway.
Yeah. It's unbelievable, man. These guys.
I have the greatest acclaim for them. And as we get into Memorial Day weekend, this is the weekend for those, for the fallen.
That's right.
And so I think it's important. And other veterans will tell you, it's not my weekend.
No,
so
that's
it's
right.
their weekend.
That's exactly
their weekend
right.
for them and their families. I always make it a point. My uncle who didn't come home from Vietnam, this is his weekend. This is where we, put the post out and just kind of remind people about that story. And maybe at some point, we can maybe touch on it later on in the show, because it's incredible that what happened in my family, of the narrative of how it changed, because for the better part of about 30 years, my family didn't know anything about what happened to their younger brother or their older brother. And then when they were trying to piece everything together, then the family went about 20 years where they had a certain belief about what happened to him. And it wasn't until stuff got basically put out there 50 years later that it changed the entire family narrative about what happened to him.
Was it declassified information?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It was about the operations of what was going on. And of all people, and he has since passed, Chris Mortensen, longtime reporter with ESPN. You had the Mort Report.
He was on our sister station, The Fan, every week.
For years and years and years. And Mort recently passed in the last couple of years. Mort, I remember it was coming up on Memorial Day weekend, and he was on, and he started talking about the weekend as they're going into it. They always thought about it, how there was a car that pulled up to his neighbor's house to inform them that their son wasn't coming home.
Oh, my God.
And he said that always stuck out for him. And so Memorial Day weekend, he always thinks about that and thinks about, soldiers and their families who've passed on. And I told him off the air, I'm like, yeah, we have a similar story, but we don't really know what happened. And he's like, keep looking. He's like, something comes out every few years. And sure enough, there was something that came out, new information. And like I said, I can get into it at some point during the show. But
that'd be great.
It was the kind of story that when I told my dad, he was shocked. And I sent all the information to him. And he called me back like 25 minutes later. My dad is not somebody to be emotional. And he's emotional, and he's thanking me.
Goodness, man.
And then the whole family's then excited about all, and they're passing this stuff around. And I'm like, it's because of Mort. Because of Chris Mortensen from ESPN, who told me keep looking. And it just so happened something had dropped in the last year and a half. Crazy.
It's unbelievable, dude.
So,
really
but that's what this weekend's for. So
it totally is. And what a way to be able to impact your family, maybe from now on, forever. That story that'll be passed on forever and ever. And today is Military Appreciation Day at Truist Park. And the two guys that I was with last night with the Medal of Honor, the National Medal of Honor Center for Leadership. You can find them on the web at mohcenterforleadership.org. They're going to be over at the Braves game.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Getting honored pregame more than likely,
yes,
and then throughout. Yeah.
And you know how the Braves roll out the red carpet for our hometown heroes and the military. They do it better than anybody. And I've been to a bunch of parks, and I've talked to other people. Chris Domino, specifically down the hall, our baseball Jesus here at Tiki Broadcasting. I mean,
baseball Jesus.
Yes, I'm not kidding. You know he is. He knows everybody in baseball. He's got the just this Rolodex.
He has a bag of souls. There's a bag that he has with mini discs of interviews he's done for the past 20, 30 years. Like, you will have players in there where you're like, who'd you talk to over there? Oh yeah, that's a former Negro League player. Yeah. He's been dead for 25 years.
That's right. Or Ted Williams. Yeah, or whomever.
Like, he still has the stories of getting Sandy Koufax on the phone, but Sandy every time respectfully saying, I just don't want to do an interview.
Yeah.
But that's who he talks to.
Yeah, that kind of guy. And he's talked about the way that the Braves do it unlike anybody else. So they'll roll out the red carpet, and our Medal of Honor winners and Braves fans and military veterans will get a treat tonight because Ronald Acuna returns. So that's a side note. That's not as important as the people that'll be there, but
it should be more fun.
What a treat for them to get that. I hope you'll go check out the National Medal of Honor Center for Leadership. And there's a bunch out there, different organizations. There's the Medal of Honor Museum. There's a couple others. These guys take the experiences of our Medal of Honor winners, and then they take it to fire departments. They take it to businesses, and they let Medal of Honor winners give basically a way to operate for your group, for your office, for your organization, your company, whatever it is. So I
love to see the different ways that people remember those who haven't come in. Are you familiar with the Murph Challenge?
I don't know.
So this is something that started in the CrossFit community years and years and years ago. A bunch of other exercise groups do it now.
Yeah, the Murphy.
Listen to this workout. Again, it's for Lieutenant Michael Murphy, who was a Navy SEAL who was awarded the Medal of Honor.
Yeah. Yes, I have heard of this.
You would know it. Operation Red Wings and Lone Survivor is part of this story.
So people do this every year on Memorial Day. 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and another 1 mile run, all while wearing a 20-pound weighted vest.
That's a lot.
I can't do.
No, it would take me all day. I
can't do the pull-ups.
No, the pull-ups are the hardest part to me.
My shoulder's destroyed. My right shoulder. There's no way for me to do
college ball.
There's no way.
Yeah,
not the pull-up.
But it's awesome to see the people
that do. Yeah, are able to participate. Well, it's just. The
rest of it's appealing. The pull-ups, I go, oh no.
How about this?
It's like, do I need to have surgery sooner? Like, what are we talking about here?
I just love the fact that people do it. And anytime you can do something for our veteran community, our military community, the warriors that we have. And I've always, not until recently, embraced that word because it always sounded like something out of a movie. Oh, those are warriors. But they are.
That's what they are.
That's exactly what they are.
Pete Hegseth, our war fighters.
Dude, that guy.
Love how he calls him that.
And let me tell you, we had the discussion last night, and it did not get political at all, but I asked about, the resurgence of recruiting numbers, and they were not shy about saying, look, there's a definite reason that happened. And again, they did not get political at all, but you knew exactly what they were talking about.
Might have something to do with at the starting point. When you join the military, we're not going to institute this whole policy of, did you know how racist you are?
Yeah, or, we're going to focus on warfighting. Pete Hegseth said, we are going to be warfighters. And that's exactly what their focus is, and you see the numbers blossom because of it. When we come back on Extra 106.3, the Atlantic is saddened by what they describe as the decline of Elon Musk. Next on Extra 106.3.
The Morning Extra has you covered until 10 a.m. Then it's Glenn Beck, Clay Travis, and Buck Sexton at noon, and the Kimmer Show taking over at 3, only on Extra 106.3.
Shoot, it is about to get hot outside, and your house has to hold up. It's got to stand up to this. humidity that's coming, the thunderstorms that'll pop up. Shoot, even tornadoes, earthquake. Was it last weekend when they had that? Your house takes a beating in the South. That's why Southern Exteriors is built for it. They install roofing, siding, windows, gutters, quality and precision that holds up in the real world. And right now you can get 10% off any job or 12 months, 0% financing. It's Tug. And I know these guys, they don't cut corners. They don't leave a mess behind, which I've had happen. Maybe you've had happen before. They have a foreman on site to make sure everything is done the way it's supposed to be. Dependable work. Getting the job done right. How do you get a hold of them for windows, doors, siding, roofing, gutters? You call 877-9-SOUTHERN or go to southernexteriors.co. It's 877-9-SOUTHERN, southernexteriors.co.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's home floor advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing: flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
My name is Patrick, and I'm the Military Outreach Manager at the Warrior Alliance. I served in the U.S. Army as an airborne ranger and deployed to several combat zones in support of the global war on terror. Veterans bring excellence through our work ethic, skills, and civic duty. However, transitioning to civilian life can be difficult, as we all share a loss of purpose when leaving the military. Returning veterans have earned and deserve our support so they can thrive on their journey home. The Warrior Alliance understands the challenge and is helping warriors navigate to success after service. Join us in changing thousands of lives for the better. Donate today at thewarrioralliance.org.
Mark your calendars because summer is here and it's time to slide into summer at Truist Park as the Boston Red Sox and Arizona Diamondbacks come to town May 30th through June 5th. Fans can enjoy 3 amazing gate giveaways during the homestand. First up is Sunday, June 1st, when the first 3,000 kids will receive a pool float, the perfect giveaway to use this summer. And then back-to-back giveaways June 4th and 5th featuring the Truist Park Stadium replica and the beach tote bag presented by Visit Sarasota.
Braves win as the rookie walked it off in 11 innings.
And May and the A deals were so great, they're extended to June 3rd through the 5th. That means $10 tickets, $1.99 hot dogs, $3.99 Miller High Life, and select parking is just $10. You can't beat great baseball and deals like this. Head to Braves.com/slide into summer to get your tickets today and check out all the summer fun. Atlanta Braves baseball. We are Braves country.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Retirement means different things to different people. Some folks want to travel the world. Some folks want to spend more time with grandkids. For me, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my guitar. Whether extravagant and robust or simple and cozy, every retirement needs a plan. You wouldn't take a trip without directions. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Master Plan Retirement Consultants have helped many like you plan for their own retirement. Not only does Master Plan help you create the roadmap, they join you on the journey. So whether you want to travel the world, become a pickleball champ, or just looking for a good porch, a sturdy rocking chair, and an acoustic guitar, remember to plan well because the destination is worth it. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Friday, May 23rd. Mercedes-Benz announced it will be moving its research and development offices to Sandy Springs, making their North American headquarters entirely in Georgia. Governor Kemp praised the move and said it will bring over 500 jobs. Completion of the facility is expected by August 2026. The Georgia Department of Public Safety is enforcing a new federal rule that aims to improve highway safety. Truck drivers will be required to demonstrate an understanding of basic English during inspections. The test includes speaking and reading comprehension. More robotaxis are coming to Atlanta. Amazon's Zoox service will join Google's Waymo and Lyft's May Mobility driverless vehicles this summer downtown. And the Georgia DOT is suspending all lane closures on interstates this weekend to help ease traffic for Memorial Day travel. Today's weather, partly cloudy with a high of 80 degrees. The clouds will stick around through the long weekend with the possibility of some isolated storms. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
2 weeks before the disastrous debate of Joe Biden, the one that took him out of the presidential race, the one that ended his political career, and the one that destroyed the Democrat Party as we know it today, you're seeing the results of all of that happening. 2 weeks before that debate, Joe Scarborough, who told you Joe Biden's the best he's ever been. I've met with him. I've interviewed him. And if you don't believe that, you can F off. Joe Scarborough had a disinformation expert, which, I mean...
What?
I'm not sure where you come up with that. I'm not sure how you get that qualification. Why is it you? Where'd you get that degree?
I can't wait till I bring in somebody and tell Tug, this is our expert on country music.
That's right. Yeah.
He's going to teach you something.
Hang on.
I'm the disinformation expert.
No, I am. But that's the thing. Like, how do you get the qualification? Where do you get the qualification? What was the lady that they wanted to appoint? The lady with the Mary Poppins lady. I forget her name. She was going to run Jankowitz.
Yes, and it was going to be for the Misinformation Institute.
That's right. So I guess if you're her, you had to get some sort of qualification. They had to figure out somehow that you were going to be the arbiter of truth. I don't know where you get the degree. I don't know where you become an expert. But Joe Scarborough, he found somebody, and they yucked it up on the show. Said Joe Biden is completely fit for duty.
How disinformation is sabotaging America.
Usually, Barbara, we talk about disinformation taking place online, websites, that somehow go viral, or from, communist Chinese controlling TikTok and, them pushing algorithms one way or the other. This is just out and out on the front pages of newspapers now, and it's also on Fox News. This is the disinformation and the constant lies that, in the end, benefit Joe Biden because they lower expectations for the debate. But it's still disinformation.
It's
I think when people hear the Mueller report, they think about what he did or did not find about Donald Trump. But a huge part of the Mueller report talks about Russian disinformation tactics. And one of the strategies in 2016 was to make Hillary Clinton look old, look sick, look like she lacks stamina. That was one of the coordinated messaging points that Robert Mueller found was occurring between the Trump campaign and the Russian efforts to spew disinformation. And one of the themes this election cycle is that Joe Biden is too old to lead. And so everyone is seizing upon this. And it is a classic disinformation tactic to take a germ of truth. There is this video. He does look away, but as you point out, he is looking away to troops to salute them.
Hold on a second. So on September 11th of 2016, when Hillary Clinton shows up at the 9/11 memorial and she basically falls out, they have to grab her by both arms as she's dragging her feet and carry her to a van to toss her into it. And that video ended up going all around the world. You think that I needed some sort of Russian disinformation, misinformation to know that she wasn't exactly the healthiest bird out there?
Or did you need it for Joe Biden? Because that was the point they were driving home.
Yeah.
Is that they did it to Hillary.
They did it to Hillary. I'm like, you didn't need to do it to either one of them.
That's exactly right.
They did it to themselves. Yes, I have eyes. I saw what I saw.
But they needed you to believe.
She looked like me after like the night of my 21st birthday. Like dragging me out at No Frills Grill. Why does he keep throwing up? Why can't he walk?
Exactly.
Okay.
It wasn't alcohol. That's disinformation.
Yes.
That's definitely not what it was.
Here, when it's 2:30 in the morning, Jack, don't do this sort of stuff. When it's 2:30 in the morning, that's different. She was doing it at 8:30 in the morning at the 9/11 memorial.
And Joe Biden wasn't functional between 10 and 4. Or was only functional between 10 and 4. Anything outside of that was going to be another gaffe.
What was the event? There was an event where he's sitting in the front row, and there's some sort of, I don't know if it's a concert or it's something that's going on, and he's staring off into space, and then he just starts staring at the floor.
Out on the White House lawn. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, that was one of them where I went, he's not here. Like, there is no way. Like, there's been times where he had gaffes, or he was confused, or he was a little bit. That's the one where I went, he's totally checked out. Like, if you went to go talk to him, he'd probably talk to you like a 6-month-old child.
And it's being brought up now that there's a Parkinson's diagnosis in there. And I've brought this up before. When I looked at Joe Biden, I saw my father-in-law, who is suffering from Parkinson's. And I've told you that I never brought it up to my wife because it's obviously very sensitive, very, very. It's a very sad situation because I love my father-in-law. We have the most wonderful relationship. He's an awesome dude. And it's tough to see him in this situation. And she brought it up to me that just one night we were sitting on the couch talking about it. And I was like, Laura, I would never bring it up. Had you not brought it up, I would have never said it. But you're exactly right. I bet there's more. I bet that's not it, dude. We're going to learn more and more and more and more about health, about cover-up, about... The Jake Tapper book was the straw that broke the camel's back. The dam is about to explode.
So you brought up Joe Scarborough and him having to bring in a misinformation expert so he could argue over who was the bigger misinformation expert.
Right.
Did you ever see the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode with the Survivor?
I feel like yes. I feel like the answer is yes. Walk me back through, refresh my memory.
So it's from the show Survivor. Colby is the survivor. He's the guy who was on the show. And there's a dinner that's going to go on that night. And one of the people that is part of the synagogue tells Larry David he's bringing a survivor. And this thing is for survivors of the Holocaust.
Right.
So when he brings Colby there, now he and the Holocaust people are arguing over who's the bigger survivor. Yes. That's what I thought about with Joe Scarborough. Who's the bigger misinformation guy? I'm the bigger misinformation guy. No, I'm the bigger misinformation. No, I'm the bigger misinformation.
So ridiculous. Do you know who's had a real bad run? Well, the Atlantic magazine would tell you that it's Elon Musk. The decline in their article, they called it the decline of Elon Musk. And I'm like, decline of Elon Musk? What? I must read more. What's happened?
What is this?
Has he got the gout?
I was going to say that the Tesla stock has been going crazy ever since you had who was it that was commenting on it? Tim Walz, who was talking about like I'm looking at it on my phone all the time. Yeah. We're like 6 weeks removed from that, and the Tesla stock continues to rise.
That's right. I'd say they lost their mind. He's never been more relevant today. He's more relevant now than he's ever been, and he was already relevant. Everybody knew who he was, Tesla, SpaceX, all those things. But when he decided he was going to team up with Donald Trump, that made him revolutionary. He is as big as he's ever going to be because of his relationship with Donald Trump. Now, some people hate him for that, but it doesn't matter if you're loved or hated. His name is the biggest on the billboard always.
I believe that if we're going to ever look back on this history, like this era that we're living through, and how would you kind of describe it to your grandchildren? What you would say is that you had an unusual circumstance where let's put it out there, a reality TV star and somebody who'd made billions of dollars in real estate, been in movies, a pop culture icon, decided, I'm going to fix the country. And then as things improved and then things went haywire through a pandemic, then the world's richest man said, I'm going to step in and help. And do you realize how strange that really comes across, that I'm going to get involved in the federal government?
Some people would say it was divine intervention, just like the shot in Butler not killing Donald Trump.
Well, if you think about it in Thailand, and a couple other different places. Like Manny Pacquiao, the former boxing champion who's going to fight again, doesn't need to happen. That man decided, I'm going to get involved in politics. And everyone's like, well, the champ is getting involved in politics? Well, that's not as extreme as, let's say, because we have athletes and coaches that get involved in politics all the time.
Tommy Tuberville.
How often do we get one that actually runs for president, wins the presidency, and then another guy who says, I'm the richest man in the world, and not only am I going to return a level of the republic to you with free speech and free thought, I'm going to create the world's biggest news site, and I'm going to support that we need to get our spending in order.
That on top of...
It's crazy.
For the reality star, the one that they would tell you is a dictator, the one that they would tell you he's only in it for himself, he's the one that said, if you'll elect me, I'll do X, Y, and Z.
He said, I've probably lost money in this.
And he probably has. Well, first of all, because he didn't take a salary.
No, but the value overall that he's probably taking
without a doubt. And Elon Musk, too. I mean, he's probably taking a personal financial hit during this run. Now, has he made it up? Probably so.
He'll make, yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to... The decline is over-exexaggerated with the Atlantic.
There's not going to be the Simple Jack situation where he pulls up at Burger King and he's like, can I get cheese today?
No.
That does not happen to Elon Musk.
But that's the reason I call him a revolutionary, because he physically changed the outcome of what was happening around the world just by allowing you free speech. That's revolutionary. People in that position don't oftentimes... Bill Gates ain't trying to free your speech.
Oh, they don't want to get involved in this sort of stuff. Bill Gates is more interested in how can I... Bill Gates, who took the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and started talking about world health, and we want to be involved in world health, which sounded so great. And basically all he did was get involved with vaccines and make sure they were being pumped into people so he could make money differently.
Not only did Elon Musk free your speech, but he also freed America by showing you and I, what our money was being spent on, the fraud, waste, and abuse, and then the ability to use that against us. He showed us that. Without Doge, we don't know about that.
I think one of the magic tricks he pulled off with his people, with his Doge people, big balls and all, like every single one of them that he brought in. Like we had the guy from Harvard, the dude who left school and was like, so now I'm hated, but I'm doing the right thing for the country. Okay, like that's
sounds very familiar, doesn't it?
Sounds real familiar. I was like, I know a little bit about this. We're in good shape here. Hello, friend. What I would point out, again, the magic of the situation. He showed how easy it is to cut spending. Because when you look, when we had the newest jobs report and some of the newest economic data, there was more money flowing into the private sector because of how much was leaving the public sector. And it was mostly tied to Doge cuts. It really was not that hard to go find $1 billion here, $1 billion there because of how much waste and fraud we have.
But no one was willing to do it.
But nobody wanted to touch it. People were willing to send checks to people that were 200 years old and send them a Social Security check and never question it.
And never say a word. And that's another reason that Elon is so valuable and his name will always be respected, because he got us away from the corruption of the Biden administration through Doge and just... And that was afterwards. I should probably back it up, and just investing in Donald Trump's campaign. He changed the direction of the United States, and it was not a gradual. I mean, it was a hard turn.
Okay, to my leftist friends, to all of you out there with a little bit of a communist lean or, pretty middle of the road liberals, I want you to turn the radio up for about the next 5 seconds of what I'm going to tell you, and then I want you to think about it the rest of the day. Okay, you ready? Elon Musk stole the election using Starlink. Ha!
Take that.
All right, now we return back to normal Earth.
Yeah, right.
Because the whole discussion point was, well, look what he did with Starlink to steal the election. I'm like, do you realize how crazy you have to sound in order to go with that?
The network we have on in the studio ran with that. MSNBC, The View ran with that.
He used Starlink to steal the election.
Rosie, how many times has she said that?
Now, that was the conspiracy theorist crazy sort of stuff on Reddit. I mean, their conspiracy theories are not anywhere like ours. Like mine, right now I'm batting like 995, okay? They're batting like 051, right? It's like they're not even close. They're not even close. I mean, they're like, he knew during the night of the election. I knew during the night of the election. As soon as I saw Miami-Dade County and a couple counties in Virginia, I was telling all the guys, it's great. I was like, it'll be over tonight.
And
we're good. It'll be over tonight.
Elon took heat for doing the right thing. People attacked his dealerships. People attacked him personally. And he did the right thing anyway. Unlike Jake Tapper, who only is doing the right thing now because he's getting his pockets padded. That's the difference. That's the decline that the Atlantic wants you to believe that Elon Musk is in. I'll let you decide if you think he's in decline or not. Something tells me that you will not. When we continue on Extra 106.3, the 6 o'clock hour is brought to you by Subaru of Gwinnett. Trump, he tasked his team to lower prescription drugs for Americans, or they're going to face the apprentice treatment. Next on Extra 106.3.
The Morning Extra on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM.
Good morning, it's Los. Let's talk about the Honest Car Guy. Now, you're going to be like, what is this? Who's the Honest Car Guy? Well, this is where you get a chance to find out. You've heard the ads, but really this is about the savings, all right? It's about the money that you are going to save yourself on your next transaction. I've had a few of you have reached out to me and said, wow, it really does save you thousands of dollars. Yes, I checked it out. I've sat through it. I've had these discussions in the past. This is what goes on when you go over to honestcarguy.com. honestcarguy.com, or you can just call 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME1. Now, here's kind of basically what happens. All you end up doing is reaching out to Tom Mitchell. He's the Honest Car Guy. He has a lifetime experience in the car dealership game. Now he's no longer running dealerships. He's got his own company. And what does he do for you? He finds a vehicle you want anywhere around the country, and then he starts lining out the deal for you. He'll tell you, because you'll be looking at it saying, hey, let's buy it right now, Tom. And Tom will say, listen, I can get a little bit better deal on this car for you. He is going to negotiate and get everything taken care of for you. And you're going to save thousands of dollars. You know, when you walk into the dealership and you're paying for the sales staff and the really cool trinkets or the new bar that they put together, that is not what you have to worry about with Tom, the Honest Car Guy. You're going to get the deal. You're going to get the car for thousands less. Then all you do is just pay the Honest Car Guy fee. That's it. That's a transaction. You will be happy with that next vehicle. Again, what do you do from here? Go to honestcarguy.com, honestcarguy.com, or give Tom a call, 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME1.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Friday, May 23rd. The Atlanta Braves have dropped 2 straight as they return home from D.C. to open up a weekend series at Truist Park against the San Diego Padres. But former league MVP Ronald Acuna Jr. is returning to the lineup tonight after missing the past year with a knee injury. It'll be Chris Sale on the mound for the Braves. He'll be opposed by Nick Pivetta. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can listen to the game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. From the association, the Oklahoma City Thunder are halfway to reaching the NBA Finals after they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves last night, 118-103. Tonight, the New York Knicks look to avoid a 2-0 series hole against Indiana Pacers. That game tips off at 8 o'clock. And from the NHL playoffs, the Florida Panthers are up 2-0 over the Carolina Hurricanes after beating them 5-0 last night. Tonight, the Dallas Stars look for a 2-0 series lead at home against the Edmonton Oilers. That puck will drop at 8 o'clock. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Hey, Atlanta's Mark from the Safe House. I have a question for you. Am I the only person pissed off with the mainstream fake news, liberal judges,
and whiny liberal politicians
who don't realize why Donald Trump is president, and fake safes? And you may wonder, why fake safes? Well, a fake safe is like Joe Biden, cheap and ineffective. A real safe from Atlanta Safe House is like Donald Trump, tough, effective, and provides peace of mind when you need it the most. So drop by Atlanta Safe House and check out the largest selection of safes in the Southeast and see what a real safe looks like. So go to atlantasafehouse.com.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. Okay, you're driving along. Suddenly you hear that horrible sound of metal and crunching. It's an accident. Even if it's a little minor fender bender, man, that could be a nightmare. First, obviously, take care of yourself. But before you make a deal with an insurance company or anybody else, call David Van Sant with Van Sant Law. You know why? Because he used to work for the insurance company, so he knows how to get the right settlement and right away. Van Sant Law. Don't forget, if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. Protecting your interests. Insurance is great, but it's complicated. 855-GA-INJURY or vansantlaw.com.
We're smart, we care. We're Central Heating and Air.
Now, I know there are plenty of HVAC companies out there, but let me tell you why Central Heating and Air Conditioning stands out from the rest. These days, it's hard to tell who's on first. Everybody wants to play. Many of the local HVAC companies, though, have been sold to large conglomerates. And some are even coming back under new names. But at Central Heating and Air Conditioning, they never left the field. They've been your hometown team since 1947. And their dedication to our community has never wavered. They are the Grand Slam you can count on. Central's team of experts know the game inside and out, delivering dependable service and personalized solutions every time. So don't get caught off base. Choose the HVAC team that's always been in the game. Get Carrier products, Carrier warranty, and Carrier peace of mind. Turn to your Atlanta Carrier experts experts, Central Heating and Air Conditioning. Call them today, 770-GET-HEAT, or visit them online at centralheat.com.
We're smart, we care. We're Central Heating and Air.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you, and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Stream Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, Glenn Beck, Fox News, and even NASCAR on Sundays. Anywhere on the Extra 106.3 app. Download the app now and get 24/7 access to the live stream, the latest news, and everything you need to know about Atlanta's only conservative talk station. Download the Extra 106.3 app for Apple or Android and check out even more great original content at thepodcastpark.com.
Lord, I had never watched an episode of The Apprentice. Now, I know the slug line, right? You're fired. You're fired. Everybody's familiar with that, even whether you saw it or not. I mean, the show was big enough that everybody knew what The Apprentice was about. Maybe I missed out. There's been plenty of stuff. Los will tell you. There's plenty of stuff that I've missed out on.
I never saw an episode, but I knew the same thing as you. And then Celebrity Apprentice. I mean, it was a hit. NBC loved it.
Yeah. And maybe one day I'll go back and watch some of it. You can't ever tell.
Yeah, I'm going to go watch 10-year-old TV just because I'm bored. What do you like? Did you break a leg? Did you break both legs? I'm just stuck here in this hospital.
My spleen. It's ruptured. I got to stay at home.
They just have reruns of The Apprentice. I'm through season 3.
Dude, you know what? I'm surprised somebody's not doing that. With the popularity of Donald Trump right now, why wouldn't they be running all kinds of... There should be a Donald Trump channel. I'm not kidding. And I don't... I'm talking like, one of those on like Pluto or the free platforms or whatever, and you just run Home Alone, you run The Apprentice, whatever else he was in, just run. I don't know why you wouldn't.
Do better than MSNBC and CNN.
Dude, it totally would. It absolutely would. And I tell you, Los, we may need to... You've run a website before. You were in college.
I've done a little bit of work in this.
Maybe we're on to something. If we can collect a nickel or two, they're getting rid of the penny. If we can collect a nickel or two, maybe, they are. We're getting rid of the penny.
That's true, yeah.
By 2026.
I saw the math on that. It takes 4 cents to make 1 cent. Like, maybe this is a bad idea. Doge went, listen, let's start with this.
$85 billion is what it costs to make the pennies. It's just absolutely nuts. Anyway, the reason I bring up The Apprentice is that Donald Trump, laughingly, jokingly told his team, hey, we're going to lower prescription drug costs. He was talking to Dr. Oz and the group around him, and I want you to hear how he said it. And I do believe he wanted that moment to sound like it did, but I think there may have been some teeth behind what he said.
I'd like to ask Oz in particular, because you and I know each other. He's a very tough hombre, this one. He's tough as hell. And so if you can lead the group, and it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to get in and you're going to have to fight. If you do it, you can have, within a period of weeks, you can have drug costs that drop like a rock, okay? So you, as a group, I have great confidence, and if you don't do it, I am firing every single one.
Dude, I love the comedic timing. I love all that, right? That's the thing that makes Trump him. That's
You never know. Is he kidding or is he not?
But
it's out there.
Exactly right. He said that in jest. I don't think he meant it in jest, though. I believe he's like, dude, if y'all don't get this done, I will find somebody who will get it done. Those are the moments where you just don't know about Trump. You don't know if he's setting you up to get the joke and probably was, or is he going to pull the rug out for me? He's going to give you a few months. If you don't get this right, by God, I'll find somebody that will.
He's going to let all of you know you're on notice here.
Straight up.
I expect this is very similar to moving the embassy.
Yes.
We move the embassy
That's right.
in Israel. It's like, this is what we're doing. Mr. President, it's going to cost billions of dollars. If I can do it for $20 million,
we're doing
this.
And he did.
And it's the same thing. Prescription drugs. This is what we're doing.
Remember with the embassy, they were like, it's going to cost World War III.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
And he did it. And guess what?
Sir, it's going to cost us $50 billion.
It didn't. And he said, no, it's not. And then he got it done cheaper, and it didn't cause a war.
So he's pointing out to Oz and the rest of them, I expect results fast here.
Because if I were on this task, I would get it done myself.
But this is the important part about this to me, Tug, is that there are so many things in D.C. that you can accomplish if you don't care. If you're not worried about who you're going to upset.
Exactly right.
If you're not worried about, am I going to be able to be reelected? Is this group going to stop funding my next campaign? Is somebody going to call in a favor that I can't take care of? If you don't care because you don't have those strings attached, then you can get stuff done.
Can I give you some credit? You've really helped me with that concern about what people think. Over the 3 years that we've been working together, I've always been, my goal was to be polite, kind. That's my person. That's who I am. But there were those moments that in the past where I was like, when somebody would say something, somebody would think something, it bothered me. And you taught me, dude, you can't do that. You can't let what somebody else thinks about you or how you feel or your opinion about something, you can't let that change anything. And for a long time, I did. Those days are over, though. those are long gone. I don't give a hot damn. I really don't care what people think of me. That when they interact with me, I'm going to treat them the same way. I'm going to be the guy that I am. But if they leave and say, I don't like that dude, good. Fine.
All right, so I pointed something out on X the other night, and I was being dead serious about it. So we have our liberal nutcase, and I guess he's glommed onto the fact that we were talking about sociopaths, and he was like, this guy thinks whatever he says is true. I'm like, well, that's not how sociopaths work. They're uncaring. This is how they work. I was like, you have me wrong. I'm just very egotistical. And so he, yes, we think you are very egotistical. I'm like, yeah, because I think I'm right. I know, and I put the work in. Now, let me tell you the difference here, and just so everyone understands this. So yesterday, we had the neighborhood pool party. This is the end of year summer pool party.
Everybody's celebrating. It's a great year.
One person made sure to buy, I guess it turns into like 25 of the airline bottles of Fireball.
Yes.
That would be Carlos Medina.
Tell me more.
Now, when I saw somebody in a teacher shirt, like one of them had like teacher tag you're it to like parents.
Yeah.
Here we go. Thank you for your service. The women that were running the raffle walked up. Hey, thank y'all for your service. They're like laughing like this dude's just handing out fireballs. Like, yes,
it's
this
Halloween,
is what I'm
baby.
doing. I'm here to take. Now, what I'm telling you is, I care about my community. I care about the people around me. I want to make sure everyone's having a good time, and I want everyone to have, when we have some experience in chat, they go, those are really nice people. At the same time, I also don't care what you think, because I'm going to just be me. And if you don't like the fact that I'm handing out Fireball, great. If you do, great. I'm just going to be, and so that's the idea.
It's like the brigade, man.
Listen, I'm going to shower you with kindness on a regular basis, but if there's something about me you don't like, I will also tell you I will not care, because I'm happy with me being me.
It's fine.
And that's it. That's simple. That's the egotistical nature of.
But I'm not egotistical.
But I think there's a level of confidence you have in yourself, and I think what we're seeing is within this administration, within politics right now, you can be American and be proud of it. And are we going to misstep? Yeah, and we'll try and fix it. Like Doge, hey, we cut something we're not supposed to.
Yeah.
We'll fix it.
This
is what we'll do. But in the meantime, this group, this administration, all of us should just be like this. I'm going to be us, and I'm going to bring you kicking and screaming to prominence.
That's right. We're going to help you be successful against your will.
Even if you don't want it.
Against your will.
What is it that the women, the squawking hens went crazy about? Donald Trump said that he was going to protect women whether we want it or not. That's the plan.
That's right.
I'm going to make the world better for you, even if you're sitting there complaining about it.
I will never be awarded the Medal of Honor, but by golly, I am proud to be an American. 100%, and I'll never, ever, ever apologize for that. When we continue on Extra 106.3, you know it's really bad if CNN is calling out AOC for telling the lies. Next.
Neil Bortz is only live on Extra 106.3, bringing you daily commentary on the biggest topics of the day. Catch him throughout the day or hear his latest on the Extra 106.3 app.
Join A Second Chance Bail Bond CEO Daniel Madelon and host Tug Cowart for the weekly radio show Back Your Blue. They will highlight special initiatives, criminal justice programs, and community events aimed at keeping our communities safer. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to learn some good news about and from the law enforcement and justice communities. This week's guest is Tyrone Spears of the Jardine Spears Autism Foundation. Tune in on Saturdays or catch up on all past episodes wherever you get your podcasts or at thepodcastpark.com.
No one plans on going to jail, but when it happens, it's important that you know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds, where we believe everyone deserves a second chance. Whether your loved one's been arrested in Cherokee, Clayton, or any of the other metro Atlanta counties in between, A Second Chance Bail Bonds works fast to help expedite release within hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT or online at atlbail.com.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, summer is our season, and we're kicking it off with a free 12-ounce Sunrise Sunset Smoothie for National Flip Flop Day on May 28th from 2 to 7 p.m. Terms and conditions apply.
Memorial Day is more than just a long weekend. It's a time to remember those who sacrificed for our freedom and make sure we're doing our part to protect what they fought for. That's why My Patriot Supply, America's largest and most trusted preparedness company, is holding their Memorial Day sale. And it's a big one. Right now, you can save up to 60% on emergency food kits, water filtration, off-grid power, and more. These are the products trusted by millions of families who refuse to be caught off guard. If you've been thinking about preparing or expanding your supplies, now is the time to do it. This sale won't last long, so shop mypatriotsupply.com/radio today. Remember, when a crisis hits, it's too late to prepare. Get ahead of it now. Because, let's be honest, nothing feels better than knowing your family is covered. Shop mypatriotsupply.com/radio. mypatriotsupply.com/radio.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
A woman from British Columbia battling cancer who received a home makeover from people in her community makes today's Dean's List. Dozens of painters came together to help bring sunshine to Andrea Mundy through a charitable organization called Student Works Painting, a place where young painters give back to their community. Close to 40 of them came out to help improve Andrea's home. Andrea was diagnosed with cancer in 2022 and recently found out it had spread to her brain. But despite the challenges, seeing others, many of them strangers, coming to help her and her family was so heartwarming. She says something as simple as painting her walls and her front door a sunny shade of yellow changes everything. It also reminds us of how powerful one act of kindness can be. Andrea says it's taken her a while to learn how to say yes and ask for help. And the Student Works Painting team are also grateful for the opportunity to lend a hand. Janice Dean, Fox News.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law, vansantlaw.com.
Another crackdown on Harvard. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Anti-Semitism will not be stood for.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem tells Fox the Trump administration will no longer allow Harvard University to participate in a student exchange visitor program, meaning Harvard can't enroll international students anymore.
Get your act together, because we are coming to make sure that these programs, that you are facilitating an environment where students can learn, where they're safe, and that they're not discriminated against based on their race or their religion.
Now, Harvard calls the order unlawful. It's after already suing to undo the order blocking the university's federal funding. In Washington, D.C., Elias Rodriguez now charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. More charges could be added as Wednesday night's shooting that killed 2 Israeli embassy staffers is being investigated as a hate crime and terrorism.
Court papers reveal chilling details regarding the shooting. Authorities say surveillance video shows Rodriguez shooting the victims, 26-year-old Sarah Milgram and 30-year-old Yaron Lashinsky, both staffers for the Israeli embassy. As Milgram tried to crawl away, Rodriguez approached her and shot more rounds. He then went inside the Capitol Jewish Museum, which had hosted an event for young Jewish diplomats, and told police he did it. He said, "I did it for Palestine. I did it for Gaza."
Fox's Madeline Rivera outside that museum where a makeshift memorial grows. It's been a week now since the New Orleans jailbreak, and 5 of the prisoners who escaped are still on the run. A third woman's been charged with helping the fugitives, giving one of the guys still on the loose money. Orleans Parish District Attorney Jason Williams warns they'll prosecute
any and every civilian
whether they be in a uniform or not in a uniform, that helped them get out of this building and help them once they were out of this building.
A jail worker also charged with helping facilitate the escape. There's a prisoner exchange between Ukraine and Russia going on. President Trump posted on Truth Social a short time ago. It's a major prisoner swap, adding this could lead to something big as the president keeps pushing for a ceasefire. America's listening to Fox News.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
The news and talk I can trust. Extra 106.3.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. Los is working on a new song as we listen to The Possum, Finally Friday, because God bless America, it is finally Friday.
I got $100 smoking in my billfold.
So the song Los is working on is for a segment that we'll do, is it 8 next hour, 8 o'clock hour?
Yeah, 8 o'clock hour, actually.
When Angela Morabito joins us to talk about this punch in the jaw that Harvard got from the Trump administration. And we're calling...
Oh, and by the way, she's also really big into what went on over in St. Louis.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
With the they-them thingy who didn't have the tornado sirens going.
So ridiculous.
She's got a variety of things that she's into this morning.
Yes, and the new segment is called Angie's Pissed.
But she doesn't like that yet. In fact, my wife thought it was hilarious.
I think it's hilarious.
I was like, let's call it Angie's Pissed. And she's like, no, my wife, of course. That sounds like Angie's List, and that's awesome. I was like, I know that's what I do. Then sweet Angela Morabito, who, she shows up on your television screen and she just tells you what's up.
Dude, and shreds you apart.
With a smile.
Yep.
With a smile. And she was, in her mind, she was like, it just seems like, it's, maybe I just come across as angry. I'm like, I like if you're a little
because
angry.
It's exactly opposite of what you actually are.
Yes.
That's the beauty of it.
She is a cold-blooded, sweet assassin.
Yes, exactly right.
She's like gutting you with a smile. Like, did you realize what your tax dollars are going? Do you know how many students it's failing? And she's telling you with a smile.
Yeah, that's right. And is the sweetest person you'll ever meet in your entire life. Going back to the end of that last segment where you talk about not caring what people think, she does not care. Like, she is going to kill you with kindness. She will be the sweetest person you ever meet in your life and then feed you the truth, whether you like it or not.
It's, again, we're revisiting. It's a Saw movie. She's giving you you have a choice. It's play game.
That's right.
You're going to get the truth one way or another from Angela.
Yeah, that's right.
It's what she's going to do.
She is so incredible.
And by the way,
love having her. That
was something else that we had. Somebody had tweeted us and sent us a message during the week about with how many women listeners we have. It's like
so awesome.
And pointed out that we're one of the only stations that does run women guests on a regular basis and women co-host. And this is one of them that we've been talking with Angela for the past several weeks of we'd love to do just a weekly where you just come in. And yeah, if you want to do it on something that's education based, obviously this Harvard story is a big one. But if there's something you want to talk about to go along with it, like we never know what direction Neil Bortz is going.
Ever.
No clue. Like in first,
which is the beauty.
Jeray's the only person who knows because he might talk with him for like 90 seconds before the air. And outside of that, that's our connection. That's it.
Hey, Neil, good morning.
Y'all gotta get in. And now Jerry just goes, get ready.
Yeah,
like he's
hang
got
on
this.
tight.
Yeah.
Buckle up,
Here he
boys.
comes. He is a tidal wave today. But Angela Morabito, in case you don't know about Angela, she was the spokeswoman for the Department of Education under Betsy DeVos in the first Trump administration. So she saw the Department of Education up close.
She spent her time in the D.C. swamp.
13 years.
She would tell us the stories about what it was like to have your federal government working against you while you're trying to get stuff done during Trump version 1.
And she said when she left D.C. and she left the Department of Education, she found out she had 100 coworkers that she had never met. She didn't even know they existed inside her department. Because either they, A, never come to the office, B, never did anything. Unclear as to why. She said she had 100 coworkers she didn't know existed.
When you have DOJ pointing out the amount of people that were drawing a government check, but we could not draw a line to what they were doing. Remember, this is now an issue from, 3 months ago? The email that went out, give us 5 things you did this week. And federal employees were losing their minds. Like, what do you mean? I'll give you 5 things I did this week.
Did you take a breath? Did you go to the bathroom? Give me 5 things you did.
My brother-in-law, he was like, oh my God, like, what is this? Is this my job on the line? And it was very simple. DOJ only wanted to know who would respond back just to be able to say, like, here, good, at least we know this person exists.
You're fogging the mirror.
Yes. Tell us you exist.
Breathing. That's
right.
all we're looking for. And they panicked.
Yeah. And
because, but doesn't that give off layers of guilty?
Yes. I can't say, or I'm just angry that you how dare you ask me for 5 things I did this week.
Or scared. They're scared.
If my employer was to say, Los, I need 5 things you did this week.
You give them 5 things you did this morning.
I would take just 2 shows, a couple segments. I'd be covered this. I'd be like, here's 5 topics that we covered or I covered, or here's what we did and here's how we put it together. That would be enough. That would take 30 seconds to do. And the federal employee, some of them were like, oh my God, you're not allowed to do that.
You can't do that.
Sounds like accountability.
It sounds like you're going to fire me if I don't do something.
So when Angela Morabito tells you in the Department of Education, she's like, there's 100 people working here. I've never seen them before. It's like that. And by the way, they're probably all making a pretty good living.
That's a snapshot of what federal work is. The swamp, the tentacles and how deep it was. Unbelievable is what it is. And I'm hoping that some of that will get cleaned up. AOC is a person that, aside from being attractive, that
you always have to start with, so I have a little bit of a crush. So I'm just going to be honest about this so you know my criticism's legitimate because I do have a crush.
It's tiny crush. Not huge. It's not. I don't think about her daily.
But when you do?
Probably impure thoughts. I'm just saying. But she is not a person that when let's say I sat down with her, we wouldn't have a lot in common. We wouldn't agree on a lot of things. CNN, on the other hand, agrees with her all the time. They share the same political point of view. I mean, all you have to do is watch CNN. You can tell they're all reading the same copy points. You know, the Democrat Party sent it out and said, hey, here's what we're going with. We're going to say that Trump ambushed the South African president. And every media outlet did it. Every Democrat politician did it. So you know it's really, really bad if CNN is calling out AOC for telling lies, for telling fibs. And that's exactly what happened on CNN. It's almost surprising, but she was talking about the big, beautiful bill. And, man, this lie had to be huge.
13.7 million Americans will be cut off from their health care and made completely uninsurable by the bill that Republicans are presenting today.
So what are the facts? So this 13.7 million number, this 14 million number involves some sleight of hand kind of fun with numbers from the Democrats. Again, we're talking about estimates, need to be cautious, but that number is not about this bill itself.
Sleight of hand, he says. So basically, she is lying to you. I'm going to soften this because we're CNN, the Communist News Network. We can't call out other communists, but even I can't go with this lie.
Okay, so there's 1,100 pages. I am probably through, to be quite honest, 35 or 40. Like, I was digging into certain sections and getting to this. And I will tell you, one of the aspects you will find in this bill that when it comes to what they're pointing out, like Medicaid, Medicare, there are going to be, once again, just like we had during the 90s, work requirements. And so when she talks about, when AOC says there's going to be 13.7 million people that are going to lose their health care, you're going to ask them to show you a work requirement. So this is a guesstimate from Democrats as to the number of people that are drawing federal funds for medical assistance and medical care that have not been able to show any sort of work history or ability to even be looking for a position.
Medicaid recipients would see stricter eligibility requirements, including the first federal work requirement of 80 hours a month for able-bodied adults. Do you have any idea?
80 hours a month for able-bodied adults.
But do you have any idea, which is, obviously minuscule, do you have any idea how many people would fall into that category, able-bodied adults? The answer, 92%. You're telling me that 92% of these people are they're pitching a fit because 92% of the people that are on this program would have to, being able-bodied,
have to verify
and try to find work.
This is the great, this is terrible how they're going to cut this from you. For most Americans, it's not a concern. You know who it is a concern for? If you're sitting on your ass.
That's right.
And by the way, if you have a disability, no issue.
That's right.
This is about able-bodied people that are not able, that do not have a medical condition that warrants the fact that they can draw money from the rest of the taxpayers sitting on their ass.
Problem for the Democrats, only 8% of people have some sort of disability that would prevent them from doing the things that need to be done. Yet they want to scream and holler while you go to work, while I go to work, everybody else goes to work. They want to scream and holler and say, they're making it impossible. They're awful for making people actually earn something.
Maybe this is why we're either cycle sisters or something close to that. I know you perk up. You're like, what? How is that? Jeray behind the board's like, how are they doing that? Because you didn't brief me on this topic. And yet, when I was going into the bill, I was naturally looking for things that they're going to complain about to try and use as ammunition against the bill. And while I'm not some great backer of this bill, I wanted a deeper understanding of some of of what the argument's going to be. And so, having read through that section, and you bring it up, we both knew this is what they're going to come up with. And even your sweetheart, AOC, 13.7 million Americans. It's probably significantly less than that. And for those that are able-bodied, you better show that you're able to do 80 hours a month. Okay, it's 2 weeks of work for the regular American.
CNN wouldn't call her an outright liar.
But it's not far off.
They called it a sleight of hand. And if you were to search that, that's a cleverly executed trick or deception.
Now, if you were to be...
That's a very nice way of saying you a liar.
If you were to be aware of the bill, and trust me, I have not gone through over 1,100 pages, and I'd be willing to bet that anyone asking her those questions have not gone through 1,100 pages as well. This is about talking points. But even CNN recognized that her talking points were either out of date or a bit of a miscarriage of the truth.
That's exactly right, dude. That's exactly right. And that's what you're going to see with the Democrats. Los and I have both said this bill may not be the bill that we had hoped for. We're having to negotiate. You're having to give in places. We both know that spending is bad for America, and we're in a place where we can't continue to spend, and yet this bill is going to have some deficit spending. And the bond markets are reacting to it because of that. We have to rein in the spending. That's why I got no problem with Thomas Massey. I got no problem with guys that are saying, no, this is not a good thing. Rand Paul's another over in the Senate saying, hey, man, I got some serious issue with this.
Yes, he does. I'll say this. Chip Roy, who is hawkish when it comes to spending, when I was reading through his press release yesterday, he lined it out very similarly to what we've been talking about. He's like, does it have things that we all want? Yes, absolutely. We have tax certainty for now. It's even beyond 10 years.
Yeah,
we have permanent tax cuts that are involved. You have to now go through Congress and through the Senate and have a president that's willing to put his name on the record of raising your taxes now.
Yes. Yeah, can you imagine that? Hey, I got this great plan. I'm going to raise your taxes.
I mean, think about what happened. The Bush tax cuts that he instituted, he got through in 2000, 2001. By the time Barack Obama was in office, and we're getting into 09, 010, and everyone's like, what is he going to do about the Bush tax cuts? He just let them expire. So he didn't have to sign his name to any legislation. He raised your taxes by not doing anything. In this case, a future president, especially one who's got some communist ideology to them, is not going to be able to just let them expire. So that's a good thing. There are good things within this bill. Taken as a whole, it is a crap sandwich. There's going to be bites where you're like, I didn't catch any crap there. All right, that was good.
Next bite, though.
Next bite might be crap. That's what Chip Roy was telling you. There are points in here that he likes. There are things that they had to give up on in order to make this work.
And I think that as you move further, and the more we have conservatives, not Republicans, conservatives, like let's say J.D. Vance comes along and has, 8 years. What can he do based on what we're doing now? And maybe that's just me being too hopeful. Accuse me of that, I'm fine with it. But I do think, this is the first step of many to point us in the right direction. And will it happen? God, I hope so. Would I be completely blown away if it didn't? No, it's D.C.
No, this is from Chip Roy's press release. He said, for example, in classic Washington fashion, the bill produces a sizable deficit in the first 5 years while achieving, he put it in quotations, savings in the future, which means we've got to bring forward more savings than I already fought for. And he finishes up. He says, but even though I supported this bill out of the House, this bill needs massive improvements if we're going to put a dent in our deficit or to change the trajectory of this country. And he just goes on to explain, there are things here that is going to curtail green energy scams.
Oh,
it's going to take care of
scrapping that stuff.
Of Medicaid, as far as, just as we brought up, it's going to hem in the people that are taking advantage of the system. It's going to be much more difficult for them to do it. But does it address the issue of addressing the debt? Not that much. At least not right away.
No. But I'm willing to, because Donald Trump has said, hey, he's recognized that the deficit is an issue. He knows it. It's not.
He says we need spending to start in order to rein stuff in. I'm okay.
And I'm willing to say, okay, let's do it. Because what's the alternative if Kamala was elected? You think they were going to reel in the spending?
No. This is very much like Tug has a tremendous idea. I'll tell you, Tug has a tremendous idea for a company, and he has to go find financing for it. He doesn't have the money to get things up and flying. He's going to create his own debt in order to build something he believes it's going to not only pay the debt off, but is going to generate so much revenue in the future that he's going to be like, hey, we came out on the plus side. That's the way that Donald Trump is trying to bank this thing right now.
With the tax cuts, he's thinking that this is going to trigger spending, this is going to trigger investment, and the economy will be the inferno that it was in his first
administration. So our level of income is going to rise. That what the federal government is going to end up making off of a raging economy is going to be better moving forward. Again,
and I do believe that.
And I agree with it. The economics are solid, but you have to get past that we're basically creating more debt, or at least sustaining our levels of debt in hopes to get this inferno going.
What do you think about it? 404-741-1230. Do you trust that that's the goal, that's the plan? Or do you feel like it's the exact opposite? We're stepping in it with more deficit spending. Because I can see why you would say that and completely understand it. I'm just hopeful.
That's the structure of it as of now.
Absolutely it is. I'm hopeful of the discussion that we've had, that's what this is the first step. This is the first step. When we continue, Carolyn Levitt will not stand for reporters and their gotcha questions about Trump's concern over South African farmers. Carolyn Levitt, she's a little bit like our own Angela Morbido. Like, sweet, kind until you cross her, and then she's going to shred you. And she did it in front of everybody in the White House briefing room. Next on Extra 106.3.
America drives the world economy. And with ongoing global trade deals, tariffs doing their job, and inflation dropping, we force the world to step up. So don't let the mainstream media spin it to you any differently. Get the news that matters to you from Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
Good morning, it's Los. Let's talk about Howard Brothers. That is a place that I love. In fact, so I've got a little bit of an issue. I'm driving to Florida. That's my plan because we're selling the house there. I got a grill there from Howard Brothers. I'm taking it back. I'm taking it all back. Okay, I'm driving to Florida to go save my grill from Howard Brothers. That's how much I love going to Howard Brothers. The right tools, equipment, expert advice on a particular project. They have everything over at Howard Brothers. They've got brands you depend on. They have people who know their stuff. And they've got locations all across North Georgia and teams that are ready to help you. A lot of these people, they spent 10, 20, 30 years. This isn't about, hey, this one person, they're going to give me a suggestion over on a mower. But, the previous week, they're working in another department. Everybody at Howard Brothers are all cross-trained. They know all about the equipment in there. So stop by today or visit howardbrothers.com and find your local one-stop shop for all of your projects. The grass is always greener when you take care of it with Howard Brothers.
Military veterans are eager to transfer their skills and experiences to civilian life, but lack trusted connections to expedite their path to success. That is, until they meet the Warrior Alliance. The Warrior Alliance goes the extra mile to reach veterans in their communities so they do not have to take this journey alone. With over 40 partners across 10 service areas, your donation goes a long way toward achieving maximum impact for a veteran and their family. Go to thewarrioralliance.org to donate today and commit to helping the Warrior Alliance change thousands of lives for the better.
The warm air, the beautiful weather, and the sounds of baseball. It's got you thinking about hitting the road. And no matter where your adventures take you, Subaru of Gwinnett has a vehicle to get you there safely and in style. Like the 2025 Subaru Outback, which will take you as far as you want to explore with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive plus up to 32 miles per gallon. And if you're up for adventure, it'll get you off the beaten path with up to 9.5 inches of ground clearance. More than the Honda CR-V or Toyota RAV4 or the 2025 Subaru Forester, the SUV for all you love. It's the right-sized SUV for all the adventures ahead with a spacious and comfortable interior for everyone you want to bring along. And no matter where adventure takes you, it starts on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth with the amazing staff at Subaru of Gwinnett. They'll help you find the Subaru that you'll love and be there every step of the way for everything you need. Start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com.
Fox on Tech. Your Windows computer might be compromised along with your password. Microsoft says they've been working with law enforcement to disrupt what they call the leading tool used by hackers to steal personal information from Windows users. It's a piece of malware known as Luma Stealer. It's developed by a suspected Russian cyber terrorist, and cyber criminals have used it to steal passwords and also things like credit card information, bank account logins, and even crypto wallets. The malware spreads by impersonating trusted brands, including Microsoft itself. The investigators at Microsoft's own Digital Crimes Unit claim to have identified nearly 400,000 PCs running Windows that have been infected with Luma. They've been partnering with the U.S. Department of Justice and authorities overseas to identify and take down domains and marketplaces where Luma is traded among cyber criminals. With Fox on Tech, I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute. Attorneys for Brian Kohberger, who's been accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students, are asking that his long-awaited trial be delayed. The court filing claims a recent NBC Dateline special has caused prejudice towards Kohberger and that his legal team now needs additional time to prepare. The defense also believes that moving forward could infringe on Kohberger's constitutional rights. In the May 9th Dateline episode, new information was presented, including surveillance video from a nearby house. It showed a car similar to Kohberger's that was in the area of the King Road house several times before the 4 students were killed. The attorneys argue the episode will taint the jury pool. Kohberger's capital murder trial is set to begin August 11th. The 30-year-old is accused of stabbing 4 University of Idaho students to death in November of 2022 at an off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho. He was arrested the following month after a nearly 7-week investigation. There's more on the story at foxnews.com or subscribe to the Fox True Crime Podcast. I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Friday, May 23rd. Mercedes-Benz announced it will be moving its research and development offices to Sandy Springs, making their North American headquarters entirely in Georgia. Governor Kemp praised the move and said it will bring over 500 jobs. Completion of the facility is expected by August 2026. The Georgia Department of Public Safety is enforcing a new federal rule that aims to improve highway safety. Truck drivers will be required to demonstrate an understanding of basic English during inspections. The test includes speaking and reading comprehension. More robo-taxis are coming to Atlanta. Amazon's Zoox service will join Google's Waymo and Lyft's May Mobility driverless vehicles this summer downtown. And the Georgia DOT is suspending all lane closures on interstates this weekend to help ease traffic for Memorial Day travel. Today's weather, partly cloudy with a high of 80 degrees. The clouds will stick around through the long weekend with the possibility of some isolated storms. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
7 o'clock hour is brought to you by Van Sant Law Group. If you're in an accident, make the right call. VanSantLaw.com. Before I get to this Carolyn Levitt audio where she just comes down on a reporter trying to do the gotcha questions, trying to build the narrative into her question, the way they often do. Jon Stewart, guy that sees things very differently than Los and I, and probably you listening right now. He is now saying something that Los and I and you right now have been saying for, 4 years or so.
Found his way into the Big Tent too?
No, not quite yet. But he did make an observation about the people under that Big Tent who said, when they sent those migrants to sanctuary cities that kept saying, yes, we're a sanctuary city, everyone is welcome here. Jon Stewart called that move brilliant on his podcast. And it was.
It was.
It was absolutely brilliant.
Y'all share our pain.
That's right. You want it. Now you have it.
Again, I grew up with it. So I was used to it in the state of Texas. We would have regular, now we're not talking 10,000 a day, but you knew the strain on your school services, on your hospital services, because what would happen legally, if you did have an illegal that showed up to the hospital, well, they're in line right there with you. It's illegal to deny them care. What we didn't see was what was happening in New York, where there were so many thousands of them. They were there for eye care, dental care, regular care. And so suddenly you're in the waiting room for like 5-6 hours with appendicitis. And you're like, when do I finally get my care? I'm in the ER. This dude's over here getting his eyes checked.
Seriously, he's over there.
Right.
Covering the other eye.
So you see the strain on the services. So that was always the goal, was send them to these places that are such big advocates for them and make them pay for it and deal with it.
It's so simple. You sent them to the places that said they wanted them, and then you saw them either collapse the system, as Los has just described, or you saw them turned away. And the shining example is Martha's Vineyard that had the big sign that said, all are welcome here.
Hate has no place here.
All the messaging.
Unless you are too brown.
That's right.
And we don't understand you.
And the 50 show up, at the
50. Yeah. It's nothing.
Weren't they from Texas?
That's like a Home Depot parking lot in Texas. Sure. It's nothing.
For sure. They get there, and the people on the city council or whatever of Martha's Vineyard is like, well, we just don't have we can't. They must. No way this won't work. Well, what? But the sign says,
you give me 3 F-150s in an hour in San Antonio, I'll bring you 50 without a problem. And Martha's Vineyard went, oh my God.
So much so that they called the National Guard in to have them removed. That doesn't sound very welcoming. That doesn't sound like a sanctuary city to me.
3 F-150s, give me 1 hour in San Antonio, and I'll just tell everybody, get in the back, we're going to Valhalla. We're going to Martha's Vineyard, guys. Let's go.
The most brilliant move the Republicans ever did. Send 2 busloads into New York City, and this is who we are. We're a sanctuary city, Ellis Island, city of immigrants. And then they send the buses in, and they're like, oh, no. That's what Jon Stewart said on
Make my problem your problem.
The weekly show with Jon Stewart.
That's the great silliness of it. They were more than comfortable with this being a problem in Florida, in Georgia, in Texas, in Southern California, into Arizona. They looked at it as, well, that's their problem.
Not ours.
This doesn't find its way into Chicago until it did, and it bankrupted their city.
And California as a state still dealing with that.
Boston.
Absolutely Boston.
Part of what happened with New York, they had their state laws and their city laws. And first off, they were unwilling to change them. But legally, they had to put a roof over the head of anyone who showed up there. That's how they ended up. They didn't do the hotel situation just out of the kindness of their heart, because the communist doesn't have one.
That's right.
It was, our laws say this. We're screwed. until you fix them. And it's, when have you ever been in the situation, and all of us as guys, ladies, you know this too, we have a very hard time sometimes admitting we're wrong on particular things.
Not me.
Everybody but you right.
Except for, I've never had a problem with that. Like, some guy out there, like, I still remember I have a coworker who bought a Jaguar from eBay. Okay? He got like the car he always wanted. He got a Jaguar from
HonestCarGuy.com. What are you doing?
I don't know. This is like 15 years ago. He bought a car from eBay.
Got it.
And within about 3 months, he was like, so there's a whole lot of corrosion on the under part of it because it was driven all in bad weather and the salt and everything. And so he's like, I got to get the lower part replaced. I'm like, well, how much is it going to cost you? He's like, as much as I paid for the car.
Oh, my gosh.
But he would not admit to the mistake.
What? It was just, I guess he didn't have to. It was on display.
Right. So everyone knew it was a mistake. Wife knew it was a mistake. He knew it was a mistake, never admitted to the mistake. That was illegal immigration in places like New York. We know we've messed up. We know it's a bad way. You want to fix it? That would be admitting a mistake. I don't know if we can do that.
We're going to continue forward.
I bought this car from eBay.
March on. That's exactly right.
Don't you want to take it back? I bought this car from eBay. New York bought their car from eBay.
Yes,
they would not fix it.
And they had the corrosion because they have all that bad weather. So it works out perfect. The analogy is absolutely perfect. If you've ever seen a car from up north that winds up down here somehow or another and they're just rusted out. I remember when my wife first moved here, she had this little Honda Accord that she was driving when we first were dating and married. And, it's a nice car. It's an Accord. You can't go wrong with that. But I couldn't help but notice, I was like, down there near the door, right around the wheel wells and things, it's all rusted out. How did that happen? And because I didn't know much about the snow, didn't know much about icing the roads,
yep.
Or icy roads, and then salting the roads, trying to prevent that. And sure enough, it came down here, and man, that thing was burnt up. I was like, good Lord, how much did you pay for that?
My friend bought a car from eBay.
That's where I got my Mustang.
eBay?
I did. It was in Kansas.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, St. Louis.
Okay.
And bought a sight unseen. It was a gamble. I was really bored. It was 2020. It's about 3 months into
really bored.
It was 3 months into the
I've been under lockdown for 2 months, and I am
money
bored.
burning a hole in my pocket.
I'm ready to roll the dice.
Ready to roll the dice on this. I'm a chance it all.
Worked out all right, though.
Okay.
Here we go. 6, let's go.
I love when last week when Jure brought up the idea of, all right, so Salma Hayek, and she's 58. Then I'm going to Google this thing. He's like, I'm ready to chance it all. It's like the same thing with this car. 2020. Well, it might have corrosion on the bottom of it, but I've been bored. Let's chance it all.
Sight unseen. I don't risk it all. March forward. I'm not admitting that I'm wrong. Carolyn Levitt in the White House press briefing room took a question from an NBC reporter, and they work in their narrative into the question. That's why the question meanders for so long. And it was basically that Donald Trump had misled everyone about the videos that were played about the South African farmers that had been murdered. And she's like, well, these are unsubstantiated claims that the president's making. And Carolyn Levitt, buddy, she stopped that BS in its tracks.
Those crosses are representing their lives in the fact that they are now dead and their government did nothing about it. Are you disputing that there's no...
The fact that the video showed what the president claimed it showed, because it did not show that. But even more, what I'm asking you is who at the White House...
it did show that. It showed white crosses representing people who have perished because of racial persecution.
Verifies the videos that the president shows, and what protocols are in place when there's unsubstantiated information being put out for the world and world leaders to show?
What's unsubstantiated about the video? The video shows crosses that represent the dead bodies of people who were racially persecuted by their government. In fact, the Associated Press, of all places, has a picture of that very monument, and the caption from the Associated Press is, "Each cross marks a white farmer who has been killed in a farm murder." So it is substantiated, not just by that video and the physical evidence that everybody saw on display in the Oval Office, but also by another outlet in this room, the Associated Press. So you should take it up with them if you believe the claim is unsubstantiated, and that's a ridiculous line of questioning.
Dude just lays it out. And it's so funny because she brings in the AP. It's not like the AP is a fan of Donald Trump. It's not like the AP is a conservative outlet trying to run cover for Donald Trump. That's the way the leftist media works.
It's always used to use their own information against them.
Absolutely. Because she's got nowhere to go.
Well, explain the circular logic of you're saying that we did something that's unsubstantiated. You started it with the AP. We're just building off of what you have in here.
And I love the fact that Carolyn Levitt is just not having it. Dude, to have her up there, because I compared her to our own Angela Morabito, just the very sweet. If you see Carolyn Levitt, at least in interviews, she's very sweet. She's a new mom. She's got all this going on. Our Angela Morabito, very sweet. But once you open the lion's cage and you think, oh, I'm good. I'm in here with this little sweet woman. And then they take the gloves off and just beat the piss out of you.
That moment when, as the reporter is trying to go back at her and trying to claim something is unsubstantiated, that's what I'm talking about, rejecting the premise.
Sure.
Caroline Levitt, she's got the bully pulpit. It's the president. This is the microphone. This is what it represents. And so if you're going to try and claim it's unsubstantiated, I'm going to point out the level it's been substantiated and then point out that your argument is moot, that it's BS. And she goes up there every day knowing this is going to be a fight and I'm here for it.
It's a little bit like Megyn Kelly the other day when we played the audio of her talking with Jake Tapper. They're doing exactly what you would do. And I think that's why I like it so much. Megyn Kelly did not accept Jake Tapper's BS. She's like, Jake, you did not. Here's what you said. You didn't cover.
I didn't interview him twice. Oh, I guess when he was president-elect, that didn't count?
Yeah, right. And then on top of that, she said you didn't cover his decline at all. And Jake Tapper didn't. And he kept saying, well, I feel bad. I'm humbled. I think he said, I'm humbled that I didn't cover it, and if I could go back and redo it again, I would do it all differently. No, you wouldn't.
No.
You wouldn't at all. And that's what Megyn Kelly's talking. And they're friends. And she's saying, no, you wouldn't. And I know you wouldn't. I know me personally, Tug, I know Jake Tapper wouldn't change it. He's doing it now because he's free and clear. There's no backlash. He's not risking anything to write this book. Nothing. He's risking nothing. Same way with Carolyn Levitt. She's saying, no, you're not doing this. We're not putting up with this. I'm going to fight you just like somebody listening to us right now, Los, would be fighting.
There's a saying, and I completely believe in it. Water finds its level. Wherever water is supposed to be, that's where it's going to be. You can pour water from whatever you want. It's going to find its lowest point. It's going to settle there, and water finds its level. What we've now seen since the announcement of a cancer diagnosis since Sunday, we've now seen this entire story go from, well, you can't go after Joe Biden, he's got cancer, to now we've gotten to the point to the end of the week where the news media actually used Jake Tapper to spin it into, well, yes, he probably was in decline, but he was just too wily for us to figure it out.
They were lying to us.
We didn't know. They were so smart as a group, we couldn't tell. It's like, did you have blinders on?
Yes, they did. They had ideological blinders on.
That's what it came down to. So now the news media is claiming, we didn't do you wrong.
It was just all them.
He was just so sharp and they were so smart, they lied to us and it tricked us for 4 years.
Now, it didn't trick the American people.
No.
That saw it on TV. It didn't trick any of us, but Jake Tapper and people like him were just completely blindsided.
And with that in mind, that now plays into what we'll get into in the next segment. There's a reason why they're on the outs. Because now you can't have a meeting. You can have it one of two ways. You were compliant, which is automatically going to finish you off, or you were too dumb to notice, which is going to finish you off.
Next on Extra 106.3.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Friday, May 23rd. The Atlanta Braves have dropped 2 straight as they return home from D.C. to open up a weekend series at Truist Park against the San Diego Padres, but former league MVP Ronald Acuna Jr. is returning to the lineup tonight after missing the past year with a knee injury. It'll be Chris Sale on the mound for the Braves. He'll be opposed by Nick Pivetta. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can listen to the game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. From the association, the Oklahoma City Thunder are halfway to reaching the NBA Finals after they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves last night, 118-103. Tonight, the New York Knicks look to avoid a 2-0 series hole against Indiana Pacers. That game tips off at 8 o'clock. And from the NHL playoffs, the Florida Panthers are up 2-0 over the Carolina Hurricanes after beating them 5-0 last night. Tonight, the Dallas Stars look for a 2-0 series lead at home against the Edmonton Oilers. That puck will drop at 8 o'clock. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's Home Floor Advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing, flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
There are nut jobs on the road. Who knows where they learn to drive? If one of them hits you, don't take care of it on your own. Call my friend David Van Sant, 855-GA-INJURY. Van Sant Law, one of Georgia's top-rated personal injury lawyers and car accident firms. Time is of the essence. Don't waste any. The longer you wait to get the right lawyer, the longer it takes to get the compensation you deserve. Call Van Sant Law today. The number is 855-GA-INJURY. VanSantLaw.com.
Stop dreaming. Start driving. Get the gift that keeps on giving with the Mercedes-Benz Dream Days sales event at RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs. Each of our certified pre-owned vehicles undergoes an exhaustive process of analysis, inspection, and reconditioning until it meets the uncompromising standards of RBM of Atlanta and Mercedes-Benz. For a limited time, get special financing from as low as 2.99% APR. In addition, you'll receive unlimited confidence with Mercedes-Benz's unlimited mileage warranty, delivering continued assurance for up to 7 years. Visit us online to see one of the largest and most comprehensive certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz inventories in Georgia, with over 170 vehicles in stock in Georgia. Not all offers apply to all vehicles, and special financing available only to qualified customers exclusively from Mercedes-Benz Financial Services through May 31st, 2025. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this and other exciting offers. Visit us at rbmofatlanta.com or call us at 770-390-0700 for details.
Hey, this is Matt from East Cobb. So ATL Turf Co. did an amazing job with our backyard transformation. They basically created a miniature golf hole. We have a miniature fairway. We also have a miniature little putting green. Consists of about 4 holes. After that transformation, my father-in-law came and saw his house the way it looked. Sure enough, he did the same thing with ATL Turf Co. He has a beautiful backyard, wonderful stonework, drainage, and a beautiful practice area for chipping and putting. Check him out online at atlturfco.com.
Hey, it's Front Office Lowe's here to tell you about a new company that is changing the way people buy their next pre-owned car or truck. At The Honest Car Guy, they offer a completely transparent way to purchase a vehicle. You pay what he pays, plus a small honest fee. You can choose any make or model. He will search the country for the best deal out there. He'll handle the paperwork, your trade-in, shipping, and even give you the bill of sale. Friends, I've done the research, and this is a buying process that you can trust. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1 or visit online at honestcarguy.com.
Calling all contractors. This is Devin Stovall, Stovall & Company, and we're here for you. We're a third-generation, family-owned and operated company for 75 years and just opened our 11th location in Canton on 9500 Union Hill Road. We're proud to provide your wholesale irrigation, nursery, and landscape supply needs. How do you envision your dream outdoor space for you or your customers? We're here to fulfill them all. We all take pride in special requests and shipping right to your job site. Here at Stovall, we have it all. Check us out at StovallINC.com.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's the Kimmer. How's it going? Here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Removing taxes on your Social Security benefits. No taxes on tips. No taxes on overtime. The bill passed. every single Democrat in the House of Representatives voted no.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Xtra. It's Friday. Thank God it is Friday, heading into Memorial Day weekend. Remembering those who made the ultimate sacrifice for your freedom, for my freedom, for our freedom, for the American way. God bless them, and God bless their families. So Stephen A. Smith is, think of it, he's very bombastic. He's very out there. He's very in your face. And I don't know where I stand on his
he's getting closer to your tent.
Well, it does appear that way.
As a Democrat, he's getting closer to your tent.
Without a doubt.
He's looking at it. He's poking it with a stick.
But I don't know if he's genuine, dude. That's the thing that I don't know.
I think he's trying to be his version of centrist while also being a traditional Democrat.
Hey, because he says it. I'm a Democrat. I vote for Democrat. I vote for Kamala Harris. He does not hide that.
He's very open with it.
That's right. But it does seem like, and you've worked sports radio, so you probably interacted with him before, and you probably have either ran a show or listened.
If I may, we have had so everybody knows, we lay it out here. We have had people that have come through our studios, used our studios to do their national shows. Stephen A. Smith was one of the nicest, most genuine, friendliest people. As far as sometimes they show up and they're kind of jerks to people. Stephen A. Smith was one of the nicest people, treated again, he may never work with these people again. He treated them all with kindness and respect.
It's like when Shaq recorded his podcast here.
Great dude to work around.
The thing that I was most impressed by, how long did he record that podcast with John Kincaid? 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah.
It was a long time.
The Big Shaq podcast was a weekly for, I think, at least 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. And the thing that I was most impressed about when Shaq would roll through here is he didn't have an entourage. It was just him. He would drive himself here, park over in the orange lot, cross from the Bobby Cox statue here at Truist Park in Battery, Atlanta, and he would walk in. It's not like you miss Shaq. And that's a good, what's the distance? That's a good 500, 600, 700, 800 yards from whatever it is.
Just go walking through the Battery.
It's not like you miss Shaq. So people would come up to him, and he was always cool with people. When he would come in, he always said hello to everybody.
Take the pictures with the babies,
everybody,
everything.
all of it. So I have experienced that at least with Shaq coming through here. So when you say that about Stephen A., it doesn't surprise me. Same way with Clay. Clay
Travis is always cool.
Super cool dude, huge Braves fan, and is always so appreciative. So that part doesn't surprise me necessarily.
Now Jalen Rose is a jerk.
Okay, so there you go. That makes sense. I could actually see that. I can see that a little bit. That makes sense.
Carrying his baseball bat around.
Yeah, right. But the thing that I don't know, because you can be kind and you can be polite and not be genuine when you turn on the mic. And that's what I don't know. But what he said, Los, is not wrong.
No, he is hitting the nail on the head here. Stephen A. Smith made it a point of pointing out Sean Hannity, and he talked about the amount of people on our side who have pointed out how liberal media is dead. Now, let me just give you the example of this. You had Fox News that now you can take all of MSNBC's audience and CNN's audience, double it, and it still doesn't reach the same as Fox News. Fox News now has a larger amount of Democrats that are watching and listening than they ever have before. People have found their way into, give me more of a centrist message, or at least something that has some sort of reality to it.
Because, look, there's plenty of people that are conservative that do not like Fox News. They'll go to a Newsmax or they'll go to a Real America's Voice, which is fine by me. Doesn't matter where you're going. Whatever you want to do is fine. We're a Fox affiliate. There's plenty of things that Fox says that I don't agree with. So that I don't want you to think that we're ringing the bell for Fox News. We're not.
We've spent 4 years telling you what we were doing wrong. Now we've got years where we get to tell you, here's what we're doing right, and here's what we worry about what might go wrong. And I'll tell you, my sports career in sports broadcasting is largely built on, I would tell people where I think they were going wrong. People would say, I know my team's bad. Tell me why we're bad. And I would, you drafted this guy, you spent this money incorrectly. Here's the mistake you made here. Here's how it all played out, so that they could explain that to people. I think the reason why you find so many Democrats going over to Fox News, they want to understand why they lost. They want to understand why things have gone so haywire for their party.
Batya Sargon, she calls herself the MAGA Democrat, which is almost unheard of. But it really does show you why that many people, that many Democrats are watching Fox News. It does show you why that Stephen A. Smith and probably her are reaching out and, like you said, can touch the tent that we now reside in.
So let's take a listen. This is Stephen A. Smith, part of his podcast, and he's going to tell you this group of people, and in terms of what they're covering, no one's listening.
My man Sean Hannity says religiously, hey, liberal media is dead. This is what he was talking about. The Mark Levins, the Sean Hannitys, the Clay Travises of the world and others, the Megyn Kellys of the world. What can we say to them at this particular moment in time? If you are a Democrat who bought in to the Democratic Party, willing to engage in cancel culture, when it came to anybody who would dare verbalize a dissenting opinion to what they were putting out there, what can we say? CNN was clearly guilty of it. We saw Joe Scarborough going on MSNBC with Morning Joe. We saw him on the national airwaves raving about President Biden's health and acuity. We saw it.
Let me tell you the difference here, and here's what he's pointing out. Whenever Joe Scarborough would say something on MSNBC, he would say it, I would listen, I would take it in, and I would go, yeah, I don't agree with that, and I would move on. The people that were taking part in that, when they would hear my show, would then start calling our advertisers and would try to find ways to get our mics turned off.
This guy's hateful. This guy's spewing all kinds
He's a bigot. The amount of times I've been called bigot in the last 3 years is hilarious.
He's sharing disinformation.
People would send
We've had
emails
people call Jeray and say that.
We had people send in emails because I called Stacey Abrams when she took the picture, which ended her gubernatorial run, when she took the picture with the kids.
And she didn't have the mask on,
and all the rest of them
did.
And I said, at least she didn't eat them. And immediately, do you realize people who deal with this stuff? My daughter deals with an eating disorder, sir. That is cruel. You should not have this man on the air. You know what happened when management asked me about it? I said, well, maybe you should feed her better. Maybe you should take that as a personal responsibility. And that was the moment where that particular person said, he needs to be on Extra.
He's going to get exiled down the hall. He's like
far too inflammatory of what he's telling people, because by the time 2020 happened for me, it was about personal responsibility. That's it. That's all. That was my biggest thing. I was going to fight to the death on that. And so when I'm willing to do that, that's where Stephen A. Smith is saying, look at all these people that are doing well. It's because they're actually calling balls and strikes accordingly. And if you possibly went against the narrative, then our side was trying to cancel you in cancel culture.
And the other thing is, if somebody on our side is just ringing the bell for the Republicans or ringing the bell for Donald Trump, I want to call them out too.
I don't care for that either.
I hate that. Just like the whole thing with the new aircraft for the president. I worry about security. I do. And you should too. Tucker Carlson has brought that up too. There's people that are like, hey, man, I don't have a problem with it, but you have to at least dig down a little bit. Security worries me. It does.
And you know why I don't play with that? I don't even entertain it, because that's all they have.
No, right. Well,
like they've created a controversy that they want you to have to take part in. You know what I tell them? Hey, free plane. Cool.
We'll take it.
Thanks.
Being a guy that worked in Intel, I worry about it. I'll lay it flat out on the line with you. I know they're going to strip the plane down, and I know they're going to build it back up, which is fine. There are issues that I have with Donald Trump. I don't worship at the altar of Trump, and I'm not going to ring the bell for him every time. Do I think he's doing the right thing for America? You damn right I do. And do I think he'll continue to do the right thing for America? Yes, I do. Do I think the Democrats are going to do everything to derail it because they hate America? Yes, I do.
Why do you think the White House is not entertaining any of those questions? Because they realize it's a waste of time. And all they have is waste of time. That's it. They can't argue on policy. They can't argue on success. They have to create moments where they can be like, see, look what happened here. Let's have them have to defend themselves on this. You know what you tell them? Free plane, cool. Like I accepted a beer at the bar. $400 billion beer. All right. That's how good I got it.
When we continue, the communist props up deadly assassin culture, and we're seeing it fester. Next on the Morning Extra.
For the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Okay, let's talk e-bikes. Did a little research. I see there's a growing problem in the Atlanta area with e-bikes, deaths, accidents, restrictions being planned. Same down here in Naples. They're enacting new laws on who, what, when, where, and why people can ride e-bikes. Marco Island, same thing. Personal experience with Fort Wilderness Campground at Disney World. You don't bring an e-bike in there unless the battery has been removed or disconnected. You ride a bike. Main reason? Kids. Irresponsible kids. Feral kids. Now, nobody is really talking about the true reason that e-bikes on roads and sidewalks and bike paths are such a problem. So I'll address that. A lot of the problems are being caused by kids, teenagers, and lower, just darting out into traffic, riding at high speeds on sidewalks, ignoring stop signs, ignoring traffic lights. They came by it honestly. Let's admit this harsh truth. These kids grew up watching their parents ride bicycles, maybe riding with them. Bicycles in virtually all jurisdictions are supposed to travel following the same traffic laws as cars, but they don't. An adult on a bicycle stop at a stop sign? Are you kidding me? A traffic light? Not if it's not a crowded highway. They just go blazing right on through. And their kids watch them and learn. And then their kids get an e-bike. And then their kids start driving the e-bike the same way their parents did. And they end up Tango uniform. And I don't mean toes up. Controls have to be enacted, but don't blame the kids. Put the blame where it belongs, their parents. Mr. Know-It-All, Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
This is Atlanta's new home for Fox News, Extra 106.3 FM.
This is House Call for Health. The unofficial start of summer is here this weekend, which means holiday travel and barbecues for many. That can also mean drinking. AAA is projecting more than 39 million people will travel by car through Monday. And Mothers Against Drunk Driving is reminding everyone that's millions of reasons to drive sober. They're urging everyone to protect yourself and others by not driving impaired, which can lead to accidents, injuries, even deaths. Getting arrested for drinking and driving and all the legal fees that might go with it can also be very painful financially. Many state, local, and county law enforcement agencies will be out in numbers. For instance, New York State has the Stop DWI High Visibility Engagement Campaign. State police, sheriffs, and local police are holding coordinated efforts to try to reduce the number of impaired driving-related injuries and deaths. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
WFOM and W292 EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
A vigil in Washington. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, where a makeshift memorial grows for Sarah Milgram and Yaron Lashinsky, the couple who worked at the Israeli embassy, shot dead Wednesday night.
She got this dream job at the Israeli embassy, working in the civil society department, really trying to build a better world with love.
National Council of Jewish Women CEO Sheila Katz. The accused gunman who chanted Free Palestine when arrested is charged with murder. More charges could be coming.
We're going to continue to investigate this as a hate crime and a crime of terrorism.
Acting U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro. A crackdown on Harvard University intensifies. The Trump administration is blocking Harvard now from enrolling international students. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem tells Fox.
They have promoted and allowed violent activity on campus. They have
allowed anti-Semitism, participation with CCP and Chinese infiltration.
Harvard calls the new order unlawful after suing the administration to lift an earlier block on federal grants to the university. Exactly 1 week after a jailbreak in Louisiana,
5 dangerous fugitives remain on the run.
Fox's Nate Foy in New Orleans also reports a 4th person's been arrested.
Connie Whedon, she's accused of contacting fugitive Jermaine Donald, who's accused of murder, before and after the escape. Authorities say that she also sent him cash on a phone app. She's now the 3rd woman arrested after the escape. A source tells Fox the other 2 are girlfriends of 2 of the fugitives.
A jail worker is also charged with helping the 10 inmates break out last week. 5 have been captured. President Trump's busy posting on Truth Social this morning, first announcing a new prisoner swap between Russia and Ukraine as he pushes for a ceasefire to stop their war, and then came tariff threats. The president wrote he recommends a 50% tariff on European Union imports starting June 1st, which sent stock market futures tumbling. And then the president also took aim at Apple, writing he expects iPhones sold in the U.S. to be manufactured here, and if not, Apple must pay a tariff of at least 25%. America's listening to Fox News.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
This is Tucker Carlson. You're listening to Atlanta's only conservative talk station, Xtra 106.3, worldwide on the Xtra app.
Tug and Los until 10. Glad that you're here. 404-741-1230. Anything you want to get off your mind, get off your chest. The phone lines are open. What did Rush call it back in the day? Open Line Friday. If you want to get in, you absolutely can. We just hope to carry a little bit of the torch.
He would take the biggest risk in all of broadcasting by allowing you to direct the show.
Good. Dude, absolute genius, incredible broadcaster. Like if I could just be 1% as good as Rush Limbaugh was.
You'd get those gold microphones in here.
The EIB golden microphones. So good, dude. He was, like Los talked about, he would catch, because we're just talking about summer starting and his daughter staying up late and my son home from college staying up late. And Los would catch the Rush Limbaugh show at 3 a.m.
The TV show.
Yeah, the TV show.
The old TV show would air in San Antonio, Texas at 3 a.m. And I would catch it at 3 a.m. And that's where I knew, too. It's about time to go to bed. But in the summer, as long as I'm up and ready to do stuff by about 2 or 3 o'clock, that's about how it was.
Yes, sir. Didn't matter. And it's going to be, summertime is always such a great, I love the summer. I can't wait to embrace less traffic. I can't wait to embrace just the fun times of neighborhood pools and it seems it's like a big summer camp around town. Obviously you got to work, but there's just so much to look forward to. There's so many great concerts. My wife and I are going to see Keith Urban tonight. There's so many. Los has got a big pool party in his neighborhood.
Yeah, last night was a great time.
Yeah.
Great fun time with everybody.
So good. So good. What are you doing? What are you doing to celebrate yesterday? And I think y'all did something like this. I was home working a little bit before I went to that Medal of Honor Center for leadership event in Buckhead, and the dogs barking, and I hear horns blowing and kids screaming and talking, and I was just like, what in the world? And I was like, oh wait. And I look at the clock, and it's about that time. Sure enough, there's a parade of cars with last day of school, and they're throwing water balloons at the cars, and they're throwing water balloons at each other.
We had this for the end of elementary. So my daughter and one other girl on the street, this was 5th grade. And by the way, the street was, we've been driving to our old neighborhood to pick up my daughter so she can stay on the bus and stay
Sure.
in one of the old.
Yeah.
Well, every single year for now we're going on a 10-year run. Last day was the water balloon fight and the water fight. So technically yesterday was our last one. So a little bittersweet, but It was still really cool to take part in that. So it was a big deal to me to get out of here as quickly as possible. I drove straight over to the middle school because they had their 8th grade walk. They did that, and then I drove straight over to our old neighborhood because now we had the water balloon fight going. And so yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
Dude, I love it. Don't be sad that it's over. Be appreciative. Be grateful that it happened. 404-741-1230. It took me a long time to accept what that is in that statement.
Yeah, I've been saying this to my wife because we're hitting like a lot of milestones. It's like, here's going to be our freshman in high school and our 6th grader in middle school. And she talked about, we're going to miss this elementary school. We were here for 10 years. And the way I looked at it is I'm incredibly appreciative of all those parents and those administrators, the resource officers, and everyone who was a part of that. Everyone there. And I'm not sad about it. I'm happy that it happened. I'm happy we picked that place.
That's right.
And that it did everything. Like, I feel good about the foundations that now lead these girls forward. And as much as I'm not trying to speed up time, because I love what the next thing. Every time they accomplish something, it's the first time that they've done it. So that's really cool. But it doesn't mean I'm not, just because I'm not crying about it doesn't mean I'm not sentimental and appreciative.
That's right, and reflective. And you always will be. And I'm sure Robbie in Canton will be too, or has been. 404-741-1230. What's up, Robbie?
We're working up here next to the hospital in Canton, and every day I'm seeing this black, nice Tesla, and it looks like a lady doctor. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it looks like
lady doctor.
And she's got a big old sign in her back glass. I bought this car before I knew Elon was crazy.
Oh.
Now, how do these educated people call a man like Elon crazy? It's just amazing.
Dude.
All right, Robbie, I want you to consider this. That's camouflage.
You know what? You may be right.
I don't want my car to be keyed.
Absolutely. So you put it up there to keep the crazies from coming and keying your car. That's actually a really good.
Hey, Robbie, that might be the smartest play right now until these crazies settle down.
Might be.
Appreciate the call, Robbie. That's
Dude,
what I'm here for. Robbie's like, man, that is good. Because again, I'm idealistic about stuff. Like, I know, I'm like, here's what I would do. But there's a part of me that also goes, man, if they're keying cars all over the place, the last thing I want to deal with is having to
insurance,
all right, seriously,
get it fixed,
and then I got
time,
and I got to call the police, and I got to file a police report, and some yahoo in the parking lot decided to do this to my car, and I've got him on sentry mode. And at a certain point, I'm like, will you just leave my car alone? How's the best way for you to leave my car alone?
That's the glass half full right there on a beautiful Friday with kids getting out of school for some. That's the glass half full that we try to give you here on the Morning Extra and Extra 106.3. On the flip side, in a conversation that comes up and has, with what happened outside the Jewish Center there in Washington D.C. with those 2 kids that were about to get married over in Jerusalem, both of them Christian, interestingly enough, it does open the door to the conversation about the culture of the left. And even to Robbie's point, like it's gotten so far, we're going to, if we don't agree with, we're going to cut with our key, cut into your paint.
If they are only a little crazy, they'll just key your car. If they're a lot crazy, they'll drive to New York or DC or wherever and try and shoot you.
With this shooting, as it broke night before last, and yesterday morning was the big story push. You know what conversation I've not seen pop up? And this opens the conversation about the culture that Los wants to get into. I've not seen any of the usual Democrats talking about how guns are bad. Surprised that I've not heard that, Los.
It's weird how when their side does this, and by the way, devout communist, there's no point of, well, he did it. It's like, let's just not touch this at all. In fact, if we can make it go away, that's better, because we don't want to actually have one of our extremists actually get talked about in what we're actually telling these people to do.
And yet, if it were anything else, it would be guns are bad, take guns away, Second Amendment needs to be reevaluated, we need to reimagine the Constitution. That's what they said at the DNC this year. That's what's happening. But it sure does point to this culture of death. This, as you've called it, Lowe's, assassination culture.
Yeah, it's accepted. Like, there's a reason why we went 40 years without an assassination attempt on an American president or someone who's running for president, and yet then we had 2 in the span of just a couple of months. Now, we can all give each other like the wink of like, well, that's because the deep state was worried about Donald Trump. And listen, we'll have that discussion. But even if they weren't, it's what they're filling these people's heads with now has them more than willing to try and shoot and kill political opponents or people that they see as having wronged them. You know, Luigi Mangione didn't know the CEO of United Healthcare. He didn't have any personal interaction. He didn't have anybody that was wronged. It was just, this person's a symbol. I'm going to do this to do something symbolic. You know, this other crazy shooter who shot these young people, killed them. He didn't know them. They didn't wrong him at any point. He was just one of these free Palestine nuttos. And so the problem ends up being, just as you had pointed out before, Tug, when you look at the percentages of people that believe that it's warranted to assassinate Donald Trump, you even had them as many as 1/3 of all Democrats after Butler, Pennsylvania, after it happened, 1/3 of them were like, I wish they didn't miss.
And then I think it was 56.
That's cultural.
Yeah, it is. And 56 or 60% said it was
56
okay.
is what you had.
Yeah, that it was okay to off somebody, to murder them, to kill them because of their political beliefs. That's on the Democrat side. That's the culture that we're talking about. And it's crazy because of the dude that was arrested for killing the 2 Jewish kids. He's going to be super pissed when he finds out that Hamas, now that they've killed all the Sinwar brothers who ran Hamas as far as being the militant organization, now that all of them are dead, and all the top officials, mainly all the top lieutenants that carried out all this terrorism, and I'm not saying I trust Hamas at all. Please don't misunderstand that. They are saying, we don't want to be a terrorist organization anymore. We physically just want to be a political party. That is what they are saying right now. The leadership, what's left of it, in Hamas is saying that. And yet, the dude didn't get the message up in D.C.
No, because he was made crazy by a political ideology.
But one that Hamas says they don't even subscribe to anymore.
He didn't. He wasn't plugged in for the latest download. It's not difficult when you look and go, what is the latest download? What is it that reaches these people? Because they will change whatever you tell them. It is as much as the MAGA cult. What do you mean? You got a bunch of people that actually think for themselves and also will not trust certain things? That makes us cultish? No. The cult is on the people that are waiting to be told what to think and then how to react to it.
Aunt Peg.
If you've got 56% of Democrats that believe that assassination is warranted, political assassination is warranted, then is there any surprise you're willing to put a sticker on your car just to avoid it being keyed?
No.
If 56% of them believe that political assassination is warranted, if 1/3 of all Democrats the day after Butler, Pennsylvania, were hoping that the shooter did not miss, man, I wish they had hit Donald Trump. Do you really think putting a sticker on your car isn't warranted to keep these crazies from messing with you?
No, it actually makes a lot of sense.
That's the sad part, Robbie.
And that's why I think Robbie was
That's the sad part.
You could hear him. You could see.
Start thinking to himself, like, why are these people, these people are smart. Why are they doing this? Because they're smart.
And look, maybe that's not the case. Maybe they really do feel that way. But I guarantee you there are people that are going, weighing their option. Like, do I want to put up with the bullcrap, or do I just camouflage it, which is a great description of it. To the other point about the crazy dude up in D.C. that shot those 2 people, I want you to hear from this crazy Hamas protester who's also not gotten the message that Hamas all of a sudden is like, we've been decimated. There is nothing left for us. We must pivot and we're going to give up. Do I believe them? I'll believe it when I see it. But I'm telling you, that's the message that's coming out. You're going to start seeing that bubble up in the next, probably maybe Monday after the weekend. That story will be one that'll be probably front and center. But this protester said that they've not done enough. That killing wasn't enough. And America must fall. Listen to this.
message for the people of Gaza is going to be more of the message that should be sent to the people here, in that they have achieved victory. We haven't done anywhere near enough. And the people here, I promise you, we do feel ashamed. We do feel like we're not doing enough. We do feel like change needs to come, because change must come. And in the form that it must come is that this empire, the American empire that's been hurting our people since the beginning, the imperial Western powers that have been hurting our people since the beginning, they must fall. And inshallah they will fall. And my message to the people of Gaza and the oppressed peoples across the world is that there are people here, both young and old, who are going to be willing to fight and are willing to put their lives and everything they can on the line to bring these empires down, because they must come down.
Let that settle in for a minute. That dude's in the United States. That dude needs to go. That dude needs to be out of here. Marco Rubio needs to be tracking that dude down. Marco Rubio's team. That's what we don't need in America, because that's the image. I always hesitate to use the word evil because there's nothing past evil, but that's evil.
Listen, I'm a free speech absolutionist.
Me too.
Like, I love free speech. Have at it.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, well, that person, they're spewing racist rhetoric. Good. I want to know who the racists are.
Right. Yep.
This person is saying things that are dumb. Good. I want to know who the dumb people are. Right. I want all of that. All that smoke. That's all for me. But also, there is a value to citizenship in this country, and citizenship guarantees you the Bill of Rights. And so when you have our administration acting on these people that are not supposed to be here or are guests here, and they're saying things that are decidedly anti-inflammatory, anti-American, they're saying things you go, wow, that's pretty crazy. They don't get a chance to, because you don't have the same rights I do. You don't. And you may look at that as being contrarian in some way. Like, no, I value citizenship. If you want to spew terrorist rhetoric in my country, and I have you as a guest here, you got to go. Just like the analogy of being in my home. You want to sit on my couch and be cool? Cool. You want to put your feet up on my couch and start rubbing your feet into my couch? You got to go.
You can't be here.
You're not. You don't own the home. I do. I get to make the call.
But I want to make it clear what we're up against. This is what stands in the way of America being successful and America being that shining city on the hill, the America that's beneficial to all Americans, and rising tides lift all ship, all that, all the analogies. That's what you're up against. That's what the other side believes. It doesn't matter. The day after 2 people were shot in cold blood in Washington, D.C., that dude says, we've not done enough.
Yep.
That's what you're up against.
They are always going to go back to, because the nature of communism, it doesn't matter what form it is or what kind of accent it has behind it. It's always, there's oppressors and the oppressed. And the oppressed, we need to take it back from the oppressors. Why do you think every single one of these communist revolutions, it's always the same thing? The People's Republic of China, the People's Army.
Ain't nothing to do with the
people. It's a joke. It's always a joke. It's always these people that have this power, that are in this party. This is what they want. This is what they're going to do.
Put that guy in charge and see what happens. Can you imagine that dude
butchering people in the streets?
That's exactly right.
Because also, the communist doesn't believe in the civil society. The communist only believes in one thing: force.
That's right.
He's calling for more force.
Put that guy in charge. Let that guy run anything and see what happens. You know what's going to happen. It's happened all over the world. The American experiment, they hate it because it's not what it's always been: a monarchy, a dictatorship, some other crazy form of government. That's why America is so stinking special. 8 o'clock hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta Carrier experts. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com. When we come back, Harvard is in the FO stage of FAFO. Next on Extra 106.3.
Get the latest breaking news and insight from the biggest conservative voices in the South when you follow Extra 106.3 across all your social media platforms. Find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube at Extra 106.3.
Mental health illness is a major deal. It's being discussed more nowadays than it ever has before. It's affected my family. It's affected my friend group. Maybe you fall into that same category. This year, Chuck, the owner of Central Heating and Air Conditioning, who is an incredible dude. The kindest dude you'll ever meet in your whole life. A guy that wants to do right by his customers. By me, by you, by Los, and anybody else that uses his services. He's a guy that cares about the community, and this is the way he gives back. He said, if you're going to use our service to cool your home this hot Georgia summer, I want to take some of that money and give it to Skyland Trail. What is Skyland Trail? A nonprofit leading the way in mental health wellness right here in Atlanta, providing expert and evidence-based treatment to help those facing mental health challenges and find a path to recovery. So when you sign up for a maintenance agreement, they'll come out a couple times a year and maintain, tune up, if you will, your HVAC. And that means it lasts as long as it can. It's more efficient as it's running in your home. And when you sign up for that maintenance agreement, $10 from every new agreement goes directly to Skyland Trail, providing life-changing care for those who need it most. So now you've got a reason. You know you need to do the maintenance on your HVAC. And now you've got an even bigger reason because you know it benefits Skyland Trail. How do you get signed up? 770-GET-HEAT or go to centralheat.com.
I'm Michelle Stovall, and our company has been family-owned and operated for 75 years. Check us out at StovallINC.com, or better yet, stop by our newly opened 11th store at 9500 Union Hill Road in Canton. At Stovall, we supply you with all your landscaping project needs, completely hassle-free down to delivery. Been dreaming of an outdoor kitchen, fireplace, or other custom paver project? We partner with Keystone Hardscapes for all your beautiful high-end concrete needs. We look forward to making your landscape dreams come true. Stovall has it all.
Join A Second Chance Bail Bond CEO Daniel Madelon and host Tug Coward for the weekly radio show Back Your Blue. They will highlight special initiatives, criminal justice programs, and community events aimed at keeping our communities safer. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to learn some good news about and from the law enforcement and justice communities. This week's guest is Tyrone Spears of the Jardine Spears Autism Foundation. Tune in on Saturdays or catch up on all past episodes wherever you get your podcasts or at thepodcastpark.com.
No one plans on going to jail, but when it happens, it's important that you know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds, where we believe everyone deserves a second chance. Whether your loved one's been arrested in Cherokee, Clayton, or any of the other metro Atlanta counties in between, A Second Chance Bail Bonds works fast to help expedite release within hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT or online at atlbail.com.
Hey, it's Front Office Los here to tell you about a new company that is changing the way people buy their next pre-owned car or truck. At The Honest Car Guy, they offer a completely transparent way to purchase a vehicle. You pay what he pays, plus a small honest fee. You can choose any make or model. He will search the country for the best deal out there. He'll handle the paperwork, your trade-in, shipping, and even give you the bill of sale. Friends, I've done the research, and this is a buying process that you can trust. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1 or visit online at honestcarguy.com.
It's May 23rd, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Lucky Penny Day. The 1-cent piece was the first currency authorized in the U.S., and the first penny minted was in 1787 by a private mint. While a penny nowadays may not have the same buying power as it did in the past, Lucky Penny Day is meant to spread the good luck around from finding random pennies during your daily travels. So remember, see a penny, pick it up, and all day long, you'll have good luck. Also on this date in 1785, founding father and inventor Benjamin Franklin announced the invention of bifocals. Recognizing that our vision starts to decline as we get older, it's an invention many of us still use to this day. And South Carolina became the 8th state to ratify the Constitution in 1788. If it's your birthday today, you share it with film director and screenwriter Ryan Coogler, born in 1986. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Friday, May 23rd. Mercedes-Benz announced it will be moving its research and development offices to Sandy Springs, making their North American headquarters entirely in Georgia. Governor Kemp praised the move and said it will bring over 500 jobs. Completion of the facility is expected by August 2026. The The Georgia Department of Public Safety is enforcing a new federal rule that aims to improve highway safety. Truck drivers will be required to demonstrate an understanding of basic English during inspections. The test includes speaking and reading comprehension. More robo-taxis are coming to Atlanta. Amazon's Zoox service will join Google's Waymo and Lyft's May Mobility driverless vehicles this summer downtown. And the Georgia DOT is suspending all lane closures on interstates this weekend to help ease traffic for Memorial Day travel. Today's weather, partly cloudy with a high of 80 degrees. The clouds will stick around through the long weekend with the possibility of some isolated storms. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
8 o'clock hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier expert, 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com. We have new theme music.
Angela's got it going on. Angela's got it going on. Angela's got it going on.
And she does.
The first one didn't work out as much as I was hoping. This one, I think, hits different.
Angela, can I come and learn from you? You know the ed department like it's your crew. You worked with Trump, you know the score. Telling commies they're dumb, you're setting the war.
There we go. Dude, I love it. We always welcome Angela Morbido. Anytime that we can get her in the studio, we know it's going to be a good day.
And based off of what happened with Harvard and the administration yesterday, could not have worked out better for Angela to be coming in today.
Okay, based on what happened with the theme song just now, Carlos, I knew you knew how to use AI for this.
Thank you.
I did not know it was a threat. That was amazing. I'm making it my ringtone.
Thank you. I'll send it on over to you. Because my first one I tried was to Devo Whip It.
And it was good.
But it wasn't like that. I was like, what if we try it to Stacey's mom? It's like, now Angela's got it going on. She's ready to tell the communists what's going wrong.
Dude, we've listened to it 3, if not 4, different versions of the song before we settled on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
And I love the title that Carlos came up with for this segment. Angie's Pissed is the greatest thing that I've ever heard.
She is.
But she's rejecting.
That's right, and she is.
She was rejecting me on this. Now I brought this up with my wife. I said, hey, I think we should call it Angie's Pissed. And she goes, that's so cool. It's like Angie's List, except. And I go, yeah, and sometimes she's upset, sometimes she's not. But at least it always gives you the leeway to be as fiery as you feel like.
Well, but because we know you as this just sweetheart of a person that has great experience.
Kills you with kindness.
Thank you.
But just knowledge to share that most people don't have, that you can't get anywhere else. Yet. If you cross her,
she'll gut you.
Like a fish.
That's right.
Have you seen?
Be like, where's my guts? It's like Angela just murdered you with words.
I'm telling you, if you have not followed her on Twitter specifically, now X, she goes after folks and does it with like assassin type skill.
You've got this
and
fervor.
accuracy.
So let's start right there, because I know I want to get into the they-them story out of St. Louis, because I saw you commenting on that, and you and I were both like, ooh, okay, that's a good one. But just as Tug and I have been following all this stuff going on with the federal government and the Ivy Leagues, to now see Harvard, which was told a multitude of times, listen, if you're going to get federal funding, you got to change what you're doing. And to see them kind of put their chest out. No, we're Harvard.
We'll do whatever we want.
We'll do whatever we want to do. I think they're about, like I said, they did the FA portion. They're now in the find out portion of this.
And they are finding out very, very hard, because the Department of Homeland Security just announced yesterday that Harvard will no longer have the ability to enroll international students. And for Harvard, that's 27% of their student body. That is a devastating blow.
What does that look like as far as people paying to go to Harvard? 27%. What is that number? Do you know what that number might look like?
So I'm not sure of the exact funding number, but when someone comes from abroad to an American college, they're not eligible for that Title IV federal student aid. In other words, they are paying the full sticker price.
They're out-of-state students.
They are literally out of state. They are paying full sticker price, and that's a lot of money for Harvard.
Well, explain this to me as somebody who spent time in the Department of Education. I understand the federal funding portion of it. Listen, you're going to have to change what we're doing, or else we're not sending you dollars. This was a surprise to me, because I don't understand the logistics of how you can tell Harvard no more international students. Like, I'm curious about how it got cleared
or not.
Sure.
Right.
So I looked at this announcement yesterday and went, whoa, this seems out of the blue. But when you look at what's been going on between DHS and Harvard, it's really not. They've been asking for records and information on international students, especially their participation in these pro-Hamas protests, since April. And Harvard said, no, we're not going to give it up. Now, Secretary Noem, DHS, has said, you've got 72 hours or no more international students. So she is upping the ante here.
And let me tell you, if they can do that and twist Harvard's arm, what are other universities that don't have an endowment like that don't have that street cred as one of the greatest, the Ivies? If they can do it to an Ivy League school and make them follow the law, follow the rules, can you imagine what it does to smaller schools and state universities?
Well, every school has to be scrambling, especially the ones that are predominantly international. Now, those are more often private schools, but you've got the outliers like Arizona State, tons of international students. Right down the street here, Georgia Tech, tons of international students. Now, part of the DHS request is really easy to fulfill. It's pretty basic records that every school would have on their students. The other part, that's like the spicy part, is going to be difficult. We need records including videos of these pro-Hamas protests. I think that's what the government's really after, and that's what Harvard's not going to give up.
So from the Department of Homeland Security and their perspective, is this a matter of saying, we're not going to allow student visas to Harvard? It's like Howard, I guess that's
right.
Is that, okay, because that's what I was curious about when I read the statement. I went, all right, so how do you go about this? And if you're just going to say, hey, listen, you're not going to get a student visa to attend here. You can attend any one of these other compliant universities if you want to, but Harvard, we're not going to grant it to.
That's right.
Okay.
These students would have to transfer out. And
that's where I was going. That's the kids that are there now.
Yes, and the timing of this is not coincidental. They dropped this on Harvard a week before graduation to cause maximum panic.
Yes.
Do I think this is kind to international students from like Canada or international students from, hey, maybe they are from the Middle East, but they're there to do the right thing. They're there to learn. They're there to contribute to their school and to this country. I feel bad for those kids.
Sure, but
I don't
you should
think
ask.
It's fair to trample on them.
But you should ask Harvard, hey, put your big boy pants on. This is what we need out of this. This is the situation that's going on. Let's make sure that we clear all these students in the way that we're asking.
Yes, it's not just a visa problem. Harvard would not have a visa problem if they could do admissions right. I feel like if you can screen kids for like, ooh, were you first chair in the cello in your high school orchestra? They look at everything.
Right. They know who they're bringing. Well, Harvard has a history now, and it applies to David Hogg and a number of other people. They're searching for activists. Like that's part of it. Like I'm first. I've got a really great ACT and SAT score. Then I was captain of the football team, and I have this sort of grades. And they go, okay, that's great. You see this guy over here? He's an activist for guns. Is he anywhere near the student you are? No. Is he anywhere near the person that you are as far as in your community? No. But we'll take this one over here. And the only problem is he's white. So if we can find one that's non-white, that'd be helpful too.
What about when you see those kids that are raising Cain on the front doorsteps of Harvard, and they're saying we want to overturn the government of the United States, and Harvard is leaning, just like Los is saying, Harvard is leaning into them, and then you find out that Harvard is getting incredible amounts of money from the Middle East. And, some of those governments that don't like the United States, the CCP, Communist China, filtering money. Not UPenn is on the list too, but Harvard is a big recipient of that. And that is a breeding ground, like Los is talking about. They're bringing in people they're literally a breeding ground for anti-American sentiments to begin with.
Yeah, it's terrifying. And this is not new for Harvard. Like people think about, the wake of October 7th, everything, changed. It exposed all this stuff. And it did. But the chair of the Harvard chemistry department went to prison because he was selling secrets to China.
I recall.
He has now been hired by a Chinese university, so he is still in the industry.
You know who else did a lot in China? Tim Walsh, the guy that waves.
Those were incredible spirit figures.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you liked them.
That was,
it was the kicks that I was more like, wow, okay.
But do you see the pattern?
Yes.
The Democrat Party picked a guy that has incredible ties to the CCP too.
But the Chinese have been very active in infiltrating our university systems and being able to get a hold of people at that point. Like that's their way in with a lot of this stuff.
Exactly right, and they can influence all kinds of anti-American sentiment. They can influence so much from within because they're creating a crop of people that believe that propaganda, and then they go on to be adults, and then they continue to pass it. It's a big snowball.
Yeah, and one of the things we ran into when I was at the Department of Ed was, there are all these foreign gifts and contracts to elite universities. And, well, these elite universities aren't reporting them to the federal government. There is no limit on how much a school can take. If they want to take an $8 billion check from Saudi Arabia tomorrow, they're allowed to do it. No repercussions, except you have to report it. Well, schools just weren't reporting, and Harvard was a huge part of that problem. We uncovered billions of dollars in unreported foreign funds. And there's a proposal in Congress right now to make sure that that can't happen, essentially. Biden did everything he could to stop enforcement of that part of the law. Now, President Trump and Secretary McMahon are trying to restore it. They said this is going to go back to the Office of the General Counsel. So they're stepping up their game here. But the whole point is we know that the Chinese government isn't saying, here, have billions of dollars out of the kindness of our hearts. No, they're buying influence and they're buying power.
That's right. So they hire people who are anti-American. They admit students that are anti-American. They take money from countries that are anti-American. What do you think is going to happen? Why do you think you're seeing all of this explode?
Feels like, from a historical perspective, kind of feels like a Trojan horse.
Certainly does.
Bring it on in.
Little bit. Meanwhile, they take billions of dollars from American taxpayers, too.
On top of that.
Yes.
Yeah, who are definitely not anti-American and don't want our tax dollars going there because they're pushing out anti-Americanism.
Right. Now, we want to fund research. We want to fund that, but we can fund it at places that don't hate America.
Yes, thank you.
What an industry.
That's right.
What a wonderful industry. Outside of creating my own church. Like, this might be like the next, I should have
University
started college. Should have started university.
I like it. I will enroll. What classes are at the University of Los?
It's all humanities.
Okay, I'm here for it.
We're just going to figure it out as we go.
I love it.
It's a lot of theory.
And that and some athletics. You got to have some sports teams in there, right?
No. It costs money.
Oh yeah. Well,
I got to keep more for me.
Well, if you're getting billions from the CCP. I mean,
listen, outside of Stacey Abrams and handing out 60 refrigerators, it's like the next best thing.
That's exactly right.
Just got to figure out how these games are played.
I got $2 billion. I handed out 60 refrigerators.
$2 billion. I got to hand out refrigerators all across Georgia.
But that all it all feels dirty.
Yeah.
And that's the way Harvard feels to most Americans, I do believe.
Yeah, it needs a hefty dose of transparency. And that's what DHS is going for. It's just turn over your records. Tell us what's going on. I think
it's not really a hard concept.
No. And I mean, I keep coming back to what Secretary Noem said in her letter to Harvard, which is participating in this visa program. It's a privilege, not a right. You do not.
Which is Marco Rubio said that as well when he's talking about deportation.
Well, when he told the Congresswoman, yeah, we're going to keep sending them out of here happily.
Yeah,
and she's just completely. Jay Paul's just like, what are you talking about? Like, are you going against the Constitution? I'm like, the Constitution is for citizens of the United States, not guests of the United States. You do have at least some laws that apply to you here, but you're a guest. We can send you out when we need to.
And most of the time, you should if you're participating in something that would block a Jewish kid from getting from one building to the next to go to his class. Or whomever you hate, whoever your banner of, because that's what it is.
It is.
Let's be frank. Yeah. That whole Hamas thing, that whole from the river to the sea, that is pure hatred. No one is fooled by what they're saying. Everybody knows that it is we want to kill a particular type of person.
And we just
we're
saw it
embracing
happen.
Yeah, we just saw it happen.
Yeah, what starts on campus does not stay on campus. There are two people, this young couple, their whole lives ahead of them. Those lives were cut short by a crazy person who doesn't seem to have a Middle Eastern name. He was living in, I believe, Chicago. We're like, where did you get these ideas? Maybe at the bad idea factories that we keep sponsoring with our tax dollars.
Maybe it's a place called Campus.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he donated. We now know that he was donating to the Democrat Party, Joe Biden in particular.
Wow.
That was, broke last night, early this morning.
But when you have a derangement and you lose, and you're losing across the board, it will drive losers to then do loser stuff. So when we had a caller, good guy who listens to the show, Robbie, and Robbie was talking about how, man, I see this woman, and she works where I work, and she's like, I think she's a doctor, and she pulls up every day in her Tesla, and now she's got a sticker on it that says, I bought it before Elon went crazy. I go, Robbie, that might be camouflage to keep people from messing with her car. And like it kind of hit him of like, if you keep winning at the level that we're winning and the administration keeps accomplishing goals and peace around the world and bigger bills and all the stuff that they end up doing, it does push the losers to be more losers and to do loser stuff.
Yes. I want to see the reverse of that bumper sticker. I mean, there's so many Teslas around Atlanta,
I
right?
bought this because of Elon.
Yes. I bought this after he enacted Doge.
Blown up.
Right. It's a risk.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be like Roadhouse, and this makes he loves Roadhouse. Now, I don't know about you, Angela. I don't know if you ever saw Roadhouse.
It's based on a bar in Dalton, Georgia, where I'm from.
Is it? Okay. Well, now I have to watch it. I have never seen Roadhouse.
Okay, first off, it's not Oscar worthy.
Okay.
Close.
It's close. Like it just missed.
Yeah.
It's like Highlander and then Roadhouse, okay?
Okay.
So Roadhouse, though, Dalton, the main bartender, the main cooler who handles the bar security, Dalton has his nice car, like Jerry's, got the Mustang in the garage, and then he's got his beater. And the beater is the one he takes over to work because he knows when he kicks people out of the bar, they're going to go mess with his car. So I'm going to have my nice Tesla and then my beater Tesla.
That's right.
My Dalton Tesla.
Well, but here's the thing, because you can put that in your windshield as camouflage, which makes so much sense when Los brought that up, because like a conservative's not going to see that and go key the car because of the sign.
That's right.
The flip is not true.
Mm-hmm.
If you just have a Tesla, they're going to key it up. Conservatives don't do that.
I have never. I was thinking about it. Vandalism. I don't think there's ever been one point in my life where I did intentional vandalism. I accidentally destroyed a toilet. It was an accident. I didn't mean to do it. It was at Northeast Stadium. I just said I put my shoe on the commode to tie my shoe, and it came off the wall.
Oh no!
And I went to my coach, and I'm
was
like,
there water going?
Yes.
Oh no!
That's the one time where I'm like, did I destroy some property? I was like, I did. And then I went to my coach. I was like, Coach, we got a problem.
Somebody go turn the water off. Angela, do you got time to stick around?
Absolutely.
Let's get in the St. Louis thing.
Yes, that, and if we get a chance, ABC knows it's got to fix the view. Maybe talk about that a little bit too. Angela Morabito joining us here on the Morning Extra. If you don't know Angela, you should. You can hit your Twitter handle real quick.
It's Angela L. Morabito.
Easy to find her. She was the spokesperson for the Department of Education of the first Trump administration. With Tug and Los on the Morning Extra, and we'll continue next.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Friday, May 23rd. The Atlanta Braves have dropped 2 straight as they return home from D.C. to open up a weekend series at Truist Park against the San Diego Padres, but former league MVP Ronald Acuna Jr. is returning to the lineup tonight after missing the past year with a knee injury. It'll be Chris Sale on the mound for the Braves. He'll be opposed by Nick Pivetta. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can listen to the game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. From the association, the Oklahoma City Thunder are halfway to reaching the NBA Finals after they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves last night, 118-103. Tonight, the New York Knicks look to avoid a 2-0 series hole against Indiana Pacers. That game tips off at 8 o'clock. And from the NHL playoffs, the Florida Panthers are up 2-0 over the Carolina Hurricanes after beating them 5-0 last night. Tonight, the Dallas Stars look for a 2-0 series lead at home against the Edmonton Oilers. That puck will drop at 8 o'clock. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
If you've been thinking about a new Ford, now's the time to buy. At Jim Ellis Ford Sandy Springs, you can take advantage of employee pricing on select new Ford models.
That means you pay what Ford employees pay. No markup, no hidden fees. It's all a part of Ford's bold campaign, from America for America.
While others may raise prices due to new auto tariffs, Jim Ellis Ford Sandy Springs is stepping up, giving you the power to save big on American-made vehicles. Choose from bestsellers like the F-150, rugged Bronco, capable Explorer, or the all-electric Mustang Mach-E.
Vehicles built to move America and move you.
And when you buy from Jim Ellis Ford Sandy Springs, you're not just getting a great deal, you're getting award-winning service from a locally family-owned dealership.
Find your perfect Ford just 4 miles north of 285 on Roswell Road, or shop online at JimEllisFord.com. Jim Ellis Ford Sandy Springs, where you pay what we pay,
and where you can always expect the best.
I enjoy a good night's sleep, and I like to breathe while I'm sleeping. My wife appreciates that, too. That's why I wear a CPAP. You want the right machine. You want expert advice. You want all the supplies that go with it. You get it all at CPAPs, etc. in Alpharetta. Machines, masks, tubing, filters, cleaning supplies, all of it, and they ship nationwide. Walk-ins, by the way, are welcome. CPAPs, etc. Alpharetta, CPAPsetc.com.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's Home Floor Advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing, flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300
Today. Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
Extra 1063 personalities aren't afraid to tell it like it is.
Without Donald Trump, nothing that's going on would be happening right now. Donald Trump is changing the world.
And you'll never hear us spew that violent rhetoric from the left. So don't be afraid to tell it like it is. Because we're happy to have you as part of the Extra community.
I particularly like Donald Trump's actions in getting illegal aliens the hell out of this country.
Extra 1063 and the Extra app.
Angela's got it going on. She's sipping tears from a goblet so strong. Pronouns like they, them, she don't care. Angela's got it going
Yes, she does. Angela Moravito. Defensive Freedom Institute. You work on all kinds of, you got all kinds of projects going on. Do you want to go through a couple of those that you do?
Sure. Yeah. So I work with the Defensive Freedom Institute, and our big announcement this week was the Respect Title IX Act. We've created this model law to lock in Title IX protections for good so that no blue state governor or future presidential administration can undo all the progress that's been made on Title IX.
Goodness gracious, especially when we see stories, and I forgive me for forgetting what city this is, but I read it this morning. Girl that runs track at her high school said she changes in her car in the parking lot because she's uncomfortable going into the locker room because there is a boy who identifies as a girl in there while she's trying to change. So she's decided she will just change in the parking lot. They presented that to the school board.
So we had done the story last week where we talked about the track athlete out of California and how he was beating his opponents by as much as 2 and 3 feet. And the follow-up was at the state final meet, there was a girl who had like the meet of her life. And in the triple jump, she ended up jumping 19 feet. Like that, she like just totally killed it. And yet the boy beat her by another like 3 or 4 inches. And she was like, what can I do? It's like, I just went and had like the best meet of my life. And yet, and she beat the rest of the girls by like a foot. But then the boy still beat her by like another like 5-6 inches. And so it's like, come on. She's a senior. It's her one opportunity. What I'm a big fan of is when people like yourself in your organization start talking about protecting Title IX, because it really is strangely under assault in certain states.
Yeah, and what you're describing is athletic fraud, and it's happening in a lot of different states that think, oh, well, we can escape notice. We can get away with it. They know it's not legal.
They won't pay attention to us. It'll be fine.
Right. Well,
Rhode Island, Massachusetts, there's a bunch of them.
Yes, and part of what the Defensive Freedom Institute does is we do pay attention, and we file those complaints, and we try and lock in those Title IX protections, so this can't keep happening.
Let's bring up a topic that you tweeted about that got Los's attention and my attention. At least 5 people are dead in St. Louis after the City Emergency Management Agency Commissioner Sarah Russell, who uses they, them pronouns, failed to activate the city's tornado sirens. It's her only job as commissioner. She's now on paid leave. I saw a quote from her that said, our hours are just, we have normal hours. I wasn't around to do it. Like, Wait, what?
Hold on a second.
What do you mean you have normal hours? Tornadoes don't have normal hours.
No. In fact, do you have a radar? Do you know if there's inclement weather? Because most of the time, and I'll even depend on our friend Ella Dorsey, Ella will be like, hey, tonight you're going to see this, all right? If I had that information and it was my job, I would probably hang around the center and be ready just in case if anything gets spotted, I'm hitting the button.
That did not happen. Or they didn't work. Like one way or another, this person who, again, they, them pronouns, and if you happen to see them, I'm not exactly sure. Like, is Sarah Russell, one way or another, Sarah Russell got to her position because they wanted to check a box.
Yeah.
Was it the trans box? I don't think so. Might be the lesbian box. One way or another, they wanted to say, we've got a Sarah Russell.
Yeah, it's so sad because people lost their lives because of someone else's bureaucratic incompetence. And there are some jobs where the margin for error is pretty much zero. If you're a pilot, you don't get to miss a landing. If you're a surgeon, you don't get to mess up. If your job is to hit the tornado siren button, you gotta hit the tornado siren button.
Be there.
Yeah. I mean, this reminds me of what happened in Hawaii a few years ago where it was a false alarm and they hit there's a tsunami button when there was no tsunami and they sent all these people into a panic.
Oh, they also sent them the early missile warning several years ago, too. Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Where they all got this text message of like incoming nuclear weapons and people were like, okay, this is the end of this. But then we've had scenarios where there's been city officials, like, for instance, as you brought up in Hawaii, why wasn't there enough water? Well, we had a problem with our water system. Same thing in Malibu, California.
Yeah.
Why were these wells not ready? Why were these water receptacles not working correctly? Well, they're expensive. We had some issue with them. You start to find out when these are the people that are hired and that are not accountable and they didn't get there on merit. Well, they tend to let some stuff slip because people that aren't accountable or who have not been able to reach place on merit tend to be kind of people that let stuff slip.
Yeah, that's the problem is there's no accountability. This Sarah Russell, this they-them person is on paid leave.
Yes.
She's still drawing a check from the taxpayers.
More than likely, I believe that they will terminate this person. But then it becomes, and here's the problem, then it becomes the egg on the face, Angela, of did we actually get rid of this woman who's, she's lesbian. She's had, it's been tough on her. Like that now, rather than just performance, it comes to this stuff.
And then the taxpayers will be taxed again because they're going to have to defend when she sues.
Yes.
Because that's next.
And that's the game.
There will be this giant payout. I mean, the lack of accountability is such a problem. There's a school district in Michigan where a teacher can be caught drinking on the job 3 times before they get fired.
You get a 3-strike rule by getting liquored up in front of elementary school kids?
Yes. You can be like drinking out of your desk in a classroom. And the first 2 times, it's, you're not doing great, but you get to keep your job.
Oh my gosh.
The bar is so low.
There is no bar.
Right.
What do you mean the bar is low? There's no bar.
You're right.
Actually, there is a bar at the desk. The bar's at the desk.
Have you ever spent any time with looking at there's a realtor out of Tampa? This woman, Brianna. And
show this to me is great.
She's into stand-up comedy, but also showing off homes. And it's hilarious the stuff she does. And one of them, she talks about, having an in-law suite and having your mother, living with you. And one of the points she says is, you get 2 DUIs and suddenly your mom's all concerned about you. Now I'm like, 1 would be enough. 2, again, you got to have 3 incidents of drinking at school.
I got to tell you, it's like my cousin Curtis is in a race because I think he's got 3 or 4. I think old cousin Curtis is trying to outdo anybody that you're bringing up.
I had a roommate, and he had.
It's not funny.
I didn't know about this at the time. He was my roommate in college, and he's just a friend to this day. And he's gotten his life straightened out, but at the time, he was like. You remember, did you ever see Varsity Blues?
Yeah.
Okay, he's Tweeter. Okay. Like, he was the guy who was, like, drinking at, like, 12 years old, 13 years old, and we didn't know. He'd gotten a couple DUIs when he was in high school.
Good.
Like, he had a couple of, like, country DUIs, and then, you know what they do when you're growing up in Aledo, Texas? They give you it, and they're like, okay, well, stop doing this, son.
Don't you do it no more.
So by the time he did it in actual, like, Fort Worth, Texas, they put him under, like, house arrest, like, in the dorm. He had to leave living with me and move back into the dorms, and because his name was Ty, we called him DW Ty.
Oh my God,
that was
great.
It. DW Ty.
That's so good. Hey, fixing the view has become kind of front and center for ABC. If you remember, after the election, they talked about having more balance on that show. Well, of course, that didn't happen.
No.
I mean, they're still in the same gutter that they've always been, and there's just the ignorance that's spewed out of there that my Aunt Peg loves. It's like a magnet to her. She's like a moth to a flame. Do you think they can center that message? Like Bob Iger is like telling them, like, you better center this thing. got to.
I mean, I think they could have when they brought Alyssa Farrer-Griffin on. She used to work in the Trump White House that has since completely switched gears. So I think a conservative might show up, but then they like poison their brain.
But do you think it's because they're just afraid to argue?
Yes.
Their point of view, so they just go along to get along, and it's clear the checks keep clearing, you know, and so why push back? Why point a different view?
You're doing a show for the liberal coast. You win in TV by getting the flyover states. That's why if it was me, I'd put myself there. I'd put Scott Jennings, and it's going to be like a bunch of hard truth. I'd put you there. I'd be like, Angela, go sit on that desk. And every single time when they start arguing about, you know who'd be a great doctor, Dr. Jill, you'd be the first one to be like, she's a PhD. She's not a medical doctor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and also her husband was falling apart, and she helped cover it up. So if we want to talk about her medical credentials.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Maybe questionable at best.
And there's Angela gutting you.
That's right.
On live television.
Like a fish. Like a fish. Angela, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
There's nothing better than Angie's pissed.
That's right. There's your 40 minutes of Angela. She just flies by.
Can we start doing this like weekly? Maybe?
Let's do it. I'm around. I love joining you guys.
Well, we love having you. 8 o'clock hours brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts, 770-GET-HEAT. CentralHeat.com is their website. Vaccine deaths are being tallied, and we'll discuss it next on Extra.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Okay, let's talk e-bikes. Did a little research. I see there's a growing problem in the Atlanta area with e-bikes, deaths, accidents, restrictions being planned. Same down here in Naples. They're enacting new laws on who, what, when, where, and why people can ride e-bikes. Marco Island, same thing. Personal experience with Fort Wilderness Campground at Disney World. You don't bring an e-bike in there unless the battery has been removed or disconnected. You ride a bike. Main reason? Kids. Irresponsible kids. Feral kids. Now, nobody is really talking about the true reason that e-bikes on roads and sidewalks and bike paths are such a problem. So I'll address that. A lot of the problems are being caused by kids, teenagers, and lower, just darting out into traffic, riding at high speeds on sidewalks, ignoring stop signs, ignoring traffic lights. They came by it honestly. Let's admit this harsh truth. These kids grew up watching their parents ride bicycles, maybe riding with them. Bicycles in virtually all jurisdictions are supposed to travel following the same traffic laws as cars, but they don't. An adult on a bicycle? Stop at a stop sign? Are you kidding me? A traffic light? Not if it's not a crowded highway. They just go blazing right on through. And their kids watch them and learn. And then their kids get an e-bike. And then their kids start driving the e-bike the same way their parents did. And they end up tango uniform. And I don't mean toes up. Controls have to be enacted, but don't blame the kids. Put the blame where it belongs, their parents. Mr. Know-It-All, Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
If you love 106.3, then you'll love the all-new Extra 106.3 app. It's loaded with replays of your favorite shows like The Morning Xtra and The Kimmer Show, podcasts from conservative voices across the South, and access to Extra's crystal clear live stream from anywhere in Georgia. Grab it now for Apple or Android. WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 9 a.m. hour is presented by Southern Exteriors. Quality and precision you can rely on.
Trump tariff threats. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The president posted them this morning on Truth Social, and one in particular is moving the stock markets. Dow futures down nearly 500 points after he recommended a 50% tariff on European Union imports starting June 1st, calling the EU difficult to deal with.
Highlighting, quote, trade barriers, VAT taxes, ridiculous corporate penalties, non-monetary trade barriers, monetary manipulations, unfair and unjustified lawsuits against American companies.
Fox Business Network Cheryl Kazoni. In another post, President Trump wrote he expects Apple to manufacture the iPhones they sell in the U.S. in the U.S. iPhones made overseas will be subject to at least a 25% tariff. Harvard has just filed a lawsuit challenging a new Trump administration crackdown.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem accuses leaders at Harvard University of allowing violent activities and anti-Semitism to create an unsafe environment for all students.
They will no longer be allowed to participate in this student exchange visitor program.
Not only is Harvard unable to enroll future foreign students, but the current 6,800 foreign students must transfer, an agency statement says.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Harvard already sued trying to unblock frozen federal grants. Last night in Washington, D.C.
Sarah was somebody who really cared about building peace. She spent time in Israel studying friendships.
National Council of Jewish Women CEO Sheila Katz at a vigil for Sarah Milgram and Yaron Lashinsky, the couple who worked for the Israeli embassy, shot dead Wednesday night. The accused gunman's charged with murder could also face hate crime and terror charges. It's now a week on the run for 5 escaped prisoners in Louisiana who broke out last Friday. Another woman's been charged helping the fugitives, giving one of them cash.
This makes 4 non-inmate arrests so far. A source tells Fox the other 2 women are girlfriends of 2 of the fugitives. Jail maintenance worker Sterling Williams also faces charges for helping facilitate the escape. He says he did that under threat.
Nate Foy in New Orleans. America's listening to Fox News.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
Want weather? Grab your phone. Need traffic? Grab your phone. Conservative news and talk, also on your phone. Get the Extra 1063 app.
Friday in front of a long weekend, I feel like shouting and screaming and playing Poison. A little Uncanny Bop for you Friday. If that doesn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what will. The only thing that may put a bigger smile on your face, like the Black Hole Sun video from Soundgarden, is Los going to Florida and bringing back fresh seafood.
That is part of the plan.
Oh, that's so good.
This is not it's like a business trip. I'm going down there to pack up some stuff. I've got to get my DirecTV equipment turned back in, and I got to get the internet, their equipment back over to those people.
I don't recall if you've said out loud at least the who, what, when, where, why, and I don't know that you're comfortable doing that.
No, so we have finally gotten to a position where we purchased our new home here in Atlanta, and sold our home that we're in for 15 years. And part of what our transactional plan was, we were also going to sell our property in Florida, because before we know it, I'm going to have another driver in the house. Mm-hmm. We are now getting to where that last lap as we're gearing up for college, and so we're cashing out now. Like, the money we've been able to make has been great. It was a really great investment. We haven't been able to get down there because of how busy the girls are, so we just decided now's the time to do this. But that now means that I will have to drive down there and go grab some of our stuff.
Gotta get it.
And we're selling the home furnished. So that part is, I'm not having to worry about moving some couches, or I got to get these TVs out or anything else. But there's a handful of things that I need to clean out of the owner's closet, and what better time than now, because we're busy all the way until 3rd week in June with volleyball the next several months.
If you're a parent, grandparent, you can relate to the busy schedule. We got rid of our membership at our neighborhood pool because we never used it for that exact same reason, because we were always chasing. running to whatever the state was. Like, you guys will be headed out to Texas, right?
We are going to be in Florida and Texas next month.
Yeah. So,
and in fact, let me add another one in. We'll also be in Tennessee.
So every parent that's been part of travel ball or band, even, because those big band competitions, you know what that's like. And sometimes you just let things go. You don't use them anymore. Just like with us, Los selling the house and then us not even renewing our membership at the neighborhood pool. Because you don't use it at all. All you're doing is running the roads. And look, it's great memories, and you wouldn't have it any other way.
It's awesome, yeah. We did 8 years.
Yeah, and then at some point, you may go revisit it.
And at some point, when the kids are at least not as busy as we're, probably hopefully moving them on to school, we'll go find another place, or we'll, might try and buy our place back. Who knows? You never know. But as it stands now, I'm kind of like on our schedule. So my daughter made the high performance volleyball team last year, which is a regional group to go along with her club team. Like, it's an assembly of club teams that have to be either here or in Tennessee. And so last year she made the team. We went out to Iowa. She got hurt. She couldn't play in the tournament. So that part was like, it was annoying. Sucks. Well, this time around, she's got to qualify through Franklin, Tennessee, which we're going to go, and I think she'll qualify. She'll make the team again. And then we go to Madison, Wisconsin, for her to take part in that tournament. So it'll be Tennessee, Wisconsin, Texas, and Florida in the next month.
That's a run.
So that's why I'm like, let's keep the credit cards clean, all right?
You're going to have to.
Let's make sure we're ready for this stuff. June's always expensive for us during this time of year.
Sacrificing for your kids, that's what you do.
So that's why we're like, you know what? These additional expenses, we're like, listen, we made our money. Let's take our money and let's go do something else.
That's exactly right. I have a feeling that there will be podcasts queued up for this trip down about, 5.5 hours?
About 5 hours.
Yeah,
5 hours from here.
So you got plenty of time to listen to a whole lot of stuff. And I know you've already listened, and I plan to listen to it as well, probably this weekend at some point. Joe Rogan's podcast with Aaron Rodgers, because what they get into is really, really eye-opening when it comes to data about the COVID vax that they told you was just fine.
Let's set this up this way. Remember that Joe Rogan had the scenario where when he got COVID, he went to his doctor. They went basically with the FLCCC treatment with some added stuff in there. And he was, in 2 days, he's like, I'm good. Now, keep in mind, Joe Rogan's like 57 years old. Yeah, he's typically going to be
really good shape.
Great shape. He's in tremendous shape. Yeah, he takes care of himself. This was not going to be a big problem for him. But at the time, the liberal media was trying to tell you that if you got this, you got to the point where you had, I think the number was, it was like 90% of respondents who were Democrats, who were liberals, believed that if you got COVID, you went to the hospital. They put everybody in the hospital. Everybody, it's like
it's a death sentence.
That's what they legitimately thought.
That's what the media.
That's what the media was like hammering them with. So remember, that's his perspective. Remember that Aaron Rodgers was the guy who decided, I don't want to take this shot, and then that made him arch enemy number one in the NFL.
Number one. That's exactly right.
He's like, I don't want to do this.
It was not just an ESPN conversation that bled into every mainstream outlet.
So that is the place where they're now discussing this. And this now ends up being what ends up being the state of Florida and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology that looked at the VAERS data and said, wow, look at these numbers. If we extrapolate this over the amount of people that have been killed by this shot, who have had a reaction, because VAERS data, basically it's you took it and that day or within a day or two, you had a reaction and you're dead. All right? So just by going by the VAERS data, if you pushed it and say, okay, well, how about times 10, times 25? All right, you get a pretty crazy number. Even if you just say by the VAERS data, it killed 43,000.
Good Lord.
All right, so take a listen. They got into this part of this. Again, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, that's MIT for those of you that don't speak nerd, and the state of Florida. Here's the information them two got into in the podcast.
Sent Jamie this study, VAERS adjusted data, and other derived from the MIT Florida Department of Health study findings that yield a conservative range of 470,000 to 600,000 American deaths from the COVID-19 mRNA shots.
That's it?
More than, well, just that alone. That's a lot of people, man. More than World War I, World War II, and Vietnam combined. If that's true. It indicates Pfizer, this is Pfizer alone, so this is not even Moderna.
Oh, okay.
Pfizer alone likely killed over 470,000 Americans. They found a 36% increase in all-cause mortality among Pfizer recipients versus Moderna.
Yeah, but they saved millions.
Yeah, I keep hearing that.
That's the fun part.
But there's still people that believe that it did.
Yeah, of course.
My Aunt Peg, she would
Absolutely.
argue. She will argue to this moment.
That is why you had Dr. McCullough, who is, again, the best cardiologist we have in this country and also our most published doctor we have in this country. It's Peter McCullough, who will tell you there's never been a randomized double-blind study that shows that it actually saves lives, which is the gold standard by which you say these things.
And that's the reason they didn't do it.
Because it would show you it probably had negative efficacy. And so I love that you have these two guys where one of them was vilified as arch enemy number one, worst guy in the whole NFL. He won't take this, and he lied about taking this. And Joe Rogan, who flat out told you, yeah, I was going to take it, and I was scheduled to take it. And then I had some friends of mine that had adverse reactions to it, and the UFC was like, well, if we can get it scheduled, and he just decided, well, I guess I just won't. And it wasn't like he was anti it. He was planning on it. And then when he started seeing people he knew had adverse reactions, including strokes, he just decided, I won't do this, and I will seek alternate treatment if I happen to get COVID, and he did.
I'm not trying to make this some grand statement, but I do believe it. It's kind of like cancer. Everybody knows someone who's been affected by cancer, or maybe it's you yourself that have been affected by cancer. Everybody knows someone who's had some sort of adverse reaction to this, whether it's, we talked about menstrual cycles.
Menstrual cycles.
We've talked about
myocarditis, heart issues.
Absolutely. My wife, when she got the shot, her arm swelled. I took a picture of it.
Yeah.
And I sent it to the family. And, of course, Aunt Peg, this was even then.
Well, that's a natural reaction.
Dude, you say that in jest.
But that's probably what
she's around what she said.
That's what they were coached to always say.
Dude, everybody knows someone who's been affected by this. So when they share those numbers, that doesn't surprise me.
Again,
it doesn't surprise me at all. And when you talk about, dude, more than World War I, World War II, and Vietnam combined, those type numbers, and I'm still not surprised at all.
If only 1/10 of the numbers were correct, let's just say 1/10 of what they're saying, the estimate, the low estimate, 1/10. That's 47,000 had an adverse reaction that killed them. 47,000, you, as I've pointed it out, you wouldn't eat a candy bar that killed 5 people.
If it were a toddler's toy, it'd be taken off the market.
If it killed 3 people, it wouldn't be on the market. On the low end, 47,000 had an adverse reaction that killed them. There is no way in hell that should be on the market. Ever.
And
that's a black box warning product.
Of course it is. And MIT is not going to share this data unless they feel confident in their research. MIT has a reputation of being a very good research institute. I'm not saying they're never wrong. I'm not pretending that.
But this isn't some quack.
But that's my
study.
point.
This is MIT in conjunction with the Health Department of Florida. How strange is that?
Dude, I'm telling you.
But
this is so freaking
But it's not even
eye-opening.
It's not even a victory lap from Joe Rogan and Aaron Rodgers.
No, it was more of a realization.
But there's more of a told you so. Like, tried to tell you. I mean, I'm sitting there trying to tell, like, hey, I don't know if you really want to jump into this sort of thing. And the more that, and we talked about the $1 billion that was spent to vilify people who had doubts, who just said, I want to wait and see. And that was probably the easiest way for me to get away with it. I was just like, listen, I just want to wait and see. I need some more data. What do you mean more data? Why don't you trust the science and trust the experts? Because sometimes they ain't all that experty.
That's right.
And when they're being compromised by the almighty dollar.
When they're getting greased to tell you otherwise, and influencers are getting greased to tell you otherwise, and social media companies are either A, taking it down because they agree with the politics, or B, are being pressured by the federal government to tell you to believe something that you might not otherwise believe.
So when we now have in this podcast, which I've still got, I haven't even gotten to this point yet. Like, I'm 90 minutes in. I haven't even gotten to this point yet. So I'll listen to it on the way down over to Florida, and I'll find a couple of other things to listen to. But I do enjoy that this has now made its rounds, because it really puts it in the face of people that told you this didn't happen.
Right.
None of this happened. What do you mean? What do you?
And those people
it's
are
a lie.
out there, still out there. Those people still are very vocal. I mean, we have some that call in here.
Yes,
actually.
I think it's people have a hard time admitting they were duped. You know, like you got cheated, somebody took something off you, you lost some money in a deal. It's hard to admit, man, because we've all been wrong. Like being wrong is fine. Being duped, you got to be a little foolish. You got to be a little compliant with it. You have to be thinking about what on the other end of it, this is going to turn out really good.
It was always accredited to Mark Twain. They say it's misattributed to Mark Twain, but I don't care. It doesn't change the fact.
Still a good quote.
It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled. Dude, that is the most correct statement I think I've ever heard in my whole life, because people will fight you to the end just to not have to say I was wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
I don't have that gene, dude. I don't have it. If I'm wrong, I'll be like, well, damn, I'm wrong.
Well, think about how weak it is that the only response now is, well, it must have saved millions. All right, find me the double-blind study.
Help me.
That will do that. Because
help me understand.
If we're going to talk about a gold standard by which we choose to then say, all right, this has been proven beyond a doubt that this is a factual statement. Randomized double-blind study. You go find one, and then you show that it doesn't have negative efficacy or a significant enough efficacy where you can justify the death of 47 to 478,000 people.
And then the next step in all of this is another movement inside the Trump administration, which is getting America healthy. So we've learned, at least I think most people have learned from the COVID experiment, the pandemic that happened. But there's still people pushing back, understandably, because if they're pushing back against obvious COVID information, they're going to push back against information that RFK Jr., they're going to call him a quack too, just like they did Dr. Peter McCullough. They called him a quack, wasn't. And RFK that way too. We all grew up on Lunchables. Probably not the best. I mean, just looking back, I mean, if you look at a Lunchable, there's some questions. I have some questions.
There's so the report that came out yesterday, and again, it came out of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s office. It's been published, and it's part of the MAHA movement, and it is just to give you data as to what is happening in the marketplace when it comes to feeding your children, because we do have an epidemic of children that are not healthy.
40% of all American children, 40% of them have some sort of chronic illness.
They have, whether it's
40%, dude.
Yes, and many of them, it's all tied to being overweight. That we have fed these children so much crap that their body has not been able to respond well to it. So, for instance, a year ago, I told my wife, hey, do you know that Lunchables have lead in it? And she stopped buying Lunchables for like 6 months, 8 months. I was like, this is pretty good. She kind of listened.
Headed in the right direction. All right.
Then, as the girls got more busy and we got closer to selling the house and having to, not cook as many meals at home, suddenly the Lunchables showed back up in my house. Now, what Consumer Reports, not me, not RFK Jr., what Consumer Reports found was that you have a percentage of lead that is allowed in your diet on a daily basis.
Lead.
All right, first, it should be 0, but there is an acceptable amount in which we are not worried about having some sort of craziness happen to you. Understand that a Lunchable consumes 74% of your daily allowance, a safe daily allowance of lead. 74% of it. So when MAHA, when this stuff starts coming out, I'm just saying that parents, all we want is just give us some decent information so we can make a choice. And what it's going to take for my wife, apparently, it's going to take a label on the box that said, this children's meal contains 70% of the maximum daily allowance of lead.
Almost like the ones on the cigarette boxes,
yes.
The warnings, the Surgeon General warning.
It's going to take that on the box for my wife to go, maybe I should cut up some fruit.
Yeah, that's right. Or find something else. Maybe let's find something else.
Maybe we try a little bit something different. But this is a step in the right direction. And having the discussion point, not only with weight, because that's important in diabetes, but also one of the other points that they pointed out was you've had a 1,400% increase in the use of medications on children when it comes to any sort of like, whether it's mental health or anxiety or anything else. 1,400% increase. How has that happened? Is it just we're diagnosing it better? It's like, no, dietarily, we've done something to our kids that's causing them problems.
And you see it every day. It's becoming more clear every day. And let's just say that RFK Jr. is wrong on some of this. You're still improving your diet.
Yes.
I mean, like, what's the worst that could happen if he's wrong? And I'm not saying he is by any means, because I don't believe he is you change your diet and you get more active. Tell me where the argument is.
I like that somebody had posted this to go off of this information. It had the 2030 food pyramid. Because remember, the food pyramid's it's BS to start with. At the top is antidepressants. Next is soy milk. Third is bugs. Fourth is seed oil. And then fifth is microplastics.
Yes, let's move on.
That's your World Economic Forum food pyramid.
They'll feed it all to you. They will feed it all to you. The auto pens. We know now that Donald Trump is on the case, arresting people in Congress. Donald Trump is on the case, and so is the DOJ. Our legal experts, Phil Holloway, joins us next on Extra 106.3 to dive into this from a legal perspective. 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by Southern Exteriors. Home exterior solutions since 1999. Easy to find them. 8779 Southern or southernexteriors.co for 10% off any job or 12 months, 0% financing.
The Extra 106.3 app is your live connection to the station, streaming free across Georgia. But it's also loaded with all our original shows and podcasts. Listen to exclusive shows from Janelle King, Ben Burnett, and so many more. Grab the Extra 106.3 app now and start streaming.
Good morning, Atlanta. Let's talk about True Prep. Hey, it's your friend Los, and you want to talk about getting ready for any sort of emergency situation or anything that's out there. Why not go to one of the best places in the entirety of the country? That is True Prep. It's right in your own backyard over at Cobb Parkway in Marietta. They've got everything when it comes. If you just want to kind of start a little bit little. Let's say water filtration. Let's say you want to be like me and have some freeze-dried food that'll last for quite a long time. Mine, 25 years. Because you never know. You want to be ready to have this stuff. Or maybe you're an outdoor enthusiast. You want to have some of the best equipment to make sure that all your GPS systems and everything is charged and running. They've got the cool solar panels. They have all the outdoor equipment to keep yourself fed and know where you're going, and obviously emergency equipment as well. Maybe you're big into team sports. Listen, the first aid kits there are not like what you're going to find over at those little convenience stores. It's serious stuff, so that if you have something happen with the kids or something happen, you can address it and get it taken care of. True Prep is about that prep work, and when it comes to firearms and ammo, the best prices in the marketplace. All right, what do you do from here? Again, you can go over to Cobb Parkway in Marietta, or you can jump online, trueprep.com. That's truprep.com. Again, truprep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow with True Prep.
Hey, this is Matt from East Cobb. We basically bought our house from our in-laws. It was my wife's childhood home. One of the issues that we've had when we first moved in was our dog in our backyard. It was extremely shaded, could never grow grass back there. We resodded it twice. So ATL Turf Co. did an amazing job with our backyard transformation. They basically created a miniature golf hole. We have a miniature fairway. We also have a miniature little putting green. Consists of about 4 holes, total about 40 yards, so you can definitely work on your short game and your putting. After that transformation that ATL Turf Co. did for us, my father-in-law came and saw his house the way it looked after the fact of we had a putting green and a miniature golf course. Sure enough, he did the same thing with ATL Turf Co. He has a beautiful backyard, wonderful stonework, drainage, and a beautiful practice area for chipping and putting. Check him out online at atlturfco.com.
My name is Patrick, and I'm the Military Outreach Manager at the Warrior Alliance. I served in the U.S. Army as an airborne ranger and deployed to several combat zones in support of the global war on terror. Veterans bring excellence through our work ethic, skills, and civic duty. However, transitioning to civilian life can be difficult, as we all share a loss of purpose when leaving the military. Returning veterans have earned and deserve our support so they can thrive on their journey home. The Warrior Alliance understands the challenge and is helping warriors navigate to success after service. Join us in changing thousands of lives for the better. Donate today at thewarrioralliance.org.
Hi, I'm Chris Lalamia, owner of the Trusted Toolbox. Are home repairs piling up? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Relax.
we've got you covered. From drywall dings and leaky faucets to deck repairs and trim replacement, we're your one-stop shop for everything for your home needs. No more juggling multiple contractors. Just call us at the Trusted Toolbox and we'll handle it. Your home deserves the best, and we don't want you breaking your back trying. Call the Trusted Toolbox today at 770-623-3097 or visit us at thetrustedtoolbox.com. The Trusted Toolbox, your one-stop shop for home repairs and more.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Retirement means different things to different people. Some folks want to travel the world. Some folks want to spend more time with grandkids. For me, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my guitar. Whether extravagant and robust or simple and cozy, every retirement needs a plan. You wouldn't take a trip without directions. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Master Plan Retirement Consultants have helped many like you plan for their own retirement. Not only does Master Plan help you create the roadmap, they join you on the journey. So whether you want to travel the world, become a pickleball champ, or just looking for a good porch, a sturdy rocking chair, and an acoustic guitar, remember to plan well because the destination is worth it. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Friday, May 23rd. Mercedes-Benz announced it will be moving its research and development offices to Sandy Springs, making their North American headquarters entirely in Georgia. Governor Kemp praised the move and said it will bring over 500 jobs. Completion of the facility is expected by August 2026. The Georgia Department of Public Safety is enforcing a new federal rule that aims to improve highway safety. Truck drivers will be required to demonstrate an understanding of basic English during inspections. The test includes speaking and reading comprehension. More robo-taxis are coming to Atlanta. Amazon's Zoox service will join Google's Waymo and Lyft's May Mobility driverless vehicles this summer downtown. And the Georgia DOT is suspending all lane closures on interstates this weekend to help ease traffic for Memorial Day travel. Today's weather, partly cloudy with a high of 80 degrees. The clouds will stick around through the long weekend with the possibility of some isolated storms. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
Your home could be the envy of the neighborhood by using Southern Exteriors, 8779 Southern, southernexteriors.co. 10% off any job or 12 months, 0% financing, windows, doors, siding, roofing, gutters. They do it all, and you can reach out to them at 8779 Southern, southernexteriors.co is their website. Phil Holloway joins us this morning, legal expert here in town. You've heard him, on all kinds of networks and all kinds of stations, TV and radio, and we're always glad to have Phil in with us. And we're going to start out of the gate with something that's been so discussed because people are like, well, if he didn't do it, is it legal? And what we're talking about, the auto pen, the use of the auto pen. Donald Trump's brought it up. Everybody's brought it up. They signed everything on Joe Biden's behalf in auto pen. Los and I have looked at a bunch of these different signatures, and they've been shared pretty widely. The only one that we can tell that he actually signed was the pardon of his son, and you can see the difference in the signature. The B looks like it was.
It's just different
shaky.
from the rest.
It was like scribbly. It was shaky, and that's the only one that we can really tell a difference. So I guess legally, how do you see this play out? Because I think someone's going to challenge the legality of the use of the auto pen on behalf of Joe Biden.
Well, it's important to remember what an auto pen is. It's, when it first started being used, I think the first I remember was with George W. Bush, and there was some piece of legislation that needed signed, and he was overseas, and so he, gave direction and specifically delegated authority to use the auto pen to sign the legislation. And later on, that was looked at. The Department of Justice said, no, we think that's fine. The current president rarely uses the auto pen. I'm told, I think I saw in a press conference yesterday, only like to sign maybe letters to kids or something like that. But important legal documents, he signs them himself. And I think obviously that's the safer way to go. Now, the issue, though, is what does the Constitution require? The Constitution gives the president various powers, including, let's just say, the power to pardon. That's exclusively the president's power. And it's unchecked. It can't be reviewed. And so there's nothing in the Constitution that says the president has to even memorialize a pardon in writing, let alone to sign it. And if so, how is he supposed to sign it? The Constitution does not mandate an original signature. It does not, of course, this auto pens and robotic signatures and even things that you can do using computers, that was not in the minds of the founders. And had they had the ability to see into 2025, maybe they would have required some specific kind of signature, but they didn't. And so it's going to be, we're going to be hard-pressed to find courts that will graft into the Constitution some requirement that the president himself actually pick up a pen and sign these things.
Well, I want to ask you about that because, you cite what happened with George W. Bush and that, Justice looked at it and, as you said, well, it was directed, and so this is the way we're looking at it. I think that's always going to be this gray area of what was directed by Joe Biden and what did he not have any idea about.
And that is a great segue into the next point that I wanted to raise. So the auto pen in and of itself, is not the problem. The question becomes, did the president actually wield this presidential power, or was it wielded by somebody else? So if somebody else, without his knowledge or without his full understanding, did they put his signature using the auto pen on some type of important legal document, whether it's a pardon or some other order, then you have real questions about the validity of that document. And look, it's the president's power to use. It's not my power. It's not the chief of staff at the White House or anybody else there, not Jill Biden's or even Barack Obama, by the way. I wonder if former presidents have auto pens in their presidential office, post-presidential office.
Meaning, can they use it afterwards?
Yeah. So, no, well, I mean, all right.
At least the power.
Well, so I posted this on X last night at Phil Holloway ESQ, and I said, it occurs to me that an auto pen could be located anywhere. There could be more than one auto pen. How many former presidents might be in possession of one? And, the next question is, once a document is signed with one of these auto pens, what's supposed to happen to it? Do you hand that to somebody else and say, this has to be filed in the Federal Register or whatever? And so if let's just hypothetically say that Dr. Jill Biden put her husband's name on some kind of a pardon, and she's like, oh, yeah, Joe told me to do this. And then she takes that document, hands it to some aide who's supposed to go file it. Does that aide not have any particular responsibility to say, look, I didn't see the president say this to you. I mean, what? How do we know that what she's saying is true?
Right. Yeah. Well, this is the challenge of this, and Phil Holloway is our guest. You have the scenario we know where Joe Biden, on that final day when we had the 2,490 documents that were signed, that were auto pen signed, and we have the scenario of knowing he was not in D.C. at the time, he was in Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, just the chain of custody was like these were signed in D.C. Well, we know he wasn't there. So was somebody directed to do this? Again, and now we're getting into the murky area that you're bringing up.
Yeah, and this is where an investigation, and it would work just like any criminal investigation. So investigators can go and say, all right, we've identified these documents that we know he didn't sign because he was not present in Washington, D.C. The documents literally say signed at Washington, D.C. on this day and time. And so they would go and identify all those documents and then start figuring out, okay, who was the individual responsible for doing something with that document after it was signed, and start interviewing people. Okay, who did you see using the auto pen? And then you talk to that person. Who told you to use the auto pen? Did the chief of staff tell you to use the auto pen? Okay, if so, where did this presidential directive come from that says you shall use the auto pen on this document to exercise presidential power? And if it doesn't flow directly from the actual president, it's not legal.
I would imagine, and I don't know if it's not expressed, like, is this a crime?
I think it is. I think it is as well. I think it feels like one. And there's a lot of crimes on the books, particularly federal crimes, that people are just there's no way to even be aware of all the potential crimes that exist in the federal code. But look, I think certainly if someone is pretending to be the president, and
someone was pretending to be the president.
Yes, and using essentially forging presidential signatures to important legal documents, you better believe that's a crime.
Do you expect that the Trump administration will pursue this? Because Donald Trump's brought it up a few times, and I don't see him often bringing up things just to bring them up.
I think it's being intent. I think it's being investigated right now. Now, Donald Trump himself's not going to be the one to do it.
No, of course not.
You'll need to bring in the FBI or...
James Comer has said this is what we're finding here.
Yeah.
Well, it's not James Comer's investigation either. Now, they can do their own separate thing, but there needs to be an executive branch investigation. Bring in law enforcement officials to investigate whether the power of the presidency was illegally usurped by some third party to try to pull a fast one on the American people.
Would you imagine that if you did have this scenario play out in the way that we think it is, I can't imagine these people would not be rolling over very quickly in terms of like, I was directed by this person. Here's the one who said it.
Yeah.
Here's one who told me.
Yeah, you start with some kind of low-level staffer and, hey, I'm just doing what I was told. Okay, great. Now, if you tell us who told you to do this, maybe we won't take you to jail. So you better maybe
stop lining them up. Yeah, I'm going to talk on a course of a maybe.
Let's talk about the representative LaMonica McIver. That this is a woman who attacked an ICE agent. Now, if you and
do you have video of that?
As a matter of fact,
what proof do you have?
I've got lots of video of you in red. Like you couldn't have worn a brighter color as you're attacking, an ICE officer. How do you see this playing out? Because she's obviously saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm going to be arrested for this. This would never happen. This is political persecution. It's all," and I think fair-minded Americans look at it and say, if that were me, I'd already be in jail.
All right, so look, this just came across my X feed from BET. Okay, BET, the headline here says, during a congressional oversight visit to Newark's Delaney Hall Detention Facility, Representative Monica McIver was charged with assaulting a federal officer. See, this is how it's being spun now in the headlines. This wasn't an official oversight visit. This was just them going down there to raise hell and to try to be a disruptor. And so, oversight is when you invite people to come talk to your committee, you get them to answer questions, all the kind of things. And it might mean an official visit to some place, but it's the kind of thing that's an official visit. It's not just you as an individual member of Congress deciding you're going to go storm the gates and find out what's going on somewhere. You can't just barge into a federal facility, even if you're a congressman.
See, and I've heard this both ways depending on where it's come from. And the first one is, just as you're saying, you're not allowed to just show up in a federal facility and say, I want access, I'm oversight, here's what I'm doing. I've also read that you have the scenario of you just notify ahead of time the facility that I intend to make an oversight visit.
And you can.
And then you can. It's their job to let you in, but notification is part of oversight.
Well, they don't have to just let you in when you want to come in either. I mean, there's other considerations. They will do their best to accommodate it.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you get to barge in there right when you want to be
And
there.
you don't get to bring guests that are not part of any oversight and not invited like the Newark mayor.
And you don't get to assault officers while you're there either.
Anyway, that doesn't matter where you are, you don't get to do that.
Even if you're there, even if the Speaker of the House sent you on an oversight visit officially with, authorization and everything, you don't get to just start shoving and punching cops when you get there. It's crazy.
I wonder how this plays out.
I don't.
I know how I want it to play out. I know how I expect it. I also know this is DC politics.
That's exactly right.
Well, we're down in the venue for this is in New Jersey, right? Mm-hmm. So New Jersey is not a red state
by any means.
So the judge is let's just say not a not a red judge,
not a conservative,
not a supporter of the law.
Yes, that too.
And then you've got, so if the jurors are coming from the pool of people who voted for her and put her into office, this is the kind of thing that's going to, I predict there's going to be jury nullification. I think the jury's just going to say, well, we've been reading these headlines that are misleading, and so you know what, we're just going to give her a pass and find her not guilty. The law be damned.
Yeah, okay, well that actually makes much more sense, because that's what I expect too, because I thought when you were saying it you meant that the right thing was going to happen. No, that'd be silly.
I've lost faith in
yes,
that.
that's what, me too, long time ago. Donald Trump did get a victory at the Supreme Court. We're going to talk about that next on Extra 106.3, Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, with our legal expert Phil Holloway joining us here on Extra.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan and driven to Extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Friday, May 23rd. The Atlanta Braves have dropped 2 straight as they return home from D.C. to open up a weekend series at Truist Park against the San Diego Padres, but former league MVP Ronald Acuna Jr. is returning to the lineup tonight after missing the past year with a knee injury. It'll be Chris Sale on the mound for the Braves. He'll be opposed by Nick Pivetta. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can listen to the game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. From the association, the Oklahoma City Thunder are halfway to reaching the NBA Finals after they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves last night, 118-103. Tonight, the New York Knicks look to avoid a 2-0 series hole against Indiana Pacers. That game tips off at 8 o'clock. And from the NHL playoffs, the Florida Panthers are up 2-0 over the Carolina Hurricanes after beating them 5-0 last night. Tonight, the Dallas Stars look for a 2-0 series lead at home against the Edmonton Oilers. That puck will drop at 8 o'clock. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
The future of business in Georgia is bright, and Georgia Power is a driving force behind the businesses and organizations that are vital to the growth of the state. Just ask Mike Plant, President and CEO of the Braves Development Company.
I think back about 2003 when I started with the Braves and just knew we had to create a destination that people wanted to come to year-round. We had a blank canvas, and I think we had a pretty good feel for what would be a year-round destination, mixed-use development, lifestyle center, all those. Fortunately, we have this incredible relationship long-term with Georgia Power. Right away, they saw our vision, they got our vision, they understood it, and they knew they needed to be a big part of that. They are leaders as far as being part of this community. We don't have power, we don't have life, So, they've been a great partner of ours, and they're there with us every step of the way.
To learn more about how Georgia Power is helping businesses big and small, visit GeorgiaPower.com and tune in all year to discover how they're powering the future of Georgia.
Gaddy Surveying and Design reminds everyone listening this Memorial Day weekend, highways will be busy with motorists traveling to and from family and friends. So make sure you and your family always have a safe and sober way home and never drink and drive. Brought to you by Gaddy Surveying and Design in Lawrenceville. For more information, visit online at GaddySurveyDesign.com and like them on Facebook. They do believe our area is a great place to live and work, and they're doing their best to keep it that way. That's everyone at Gaddy Surveying Design, wishing you and your family a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend. And Alert 360 reminds everyone, if you or someone you know has had too much to drink, have a sober friend drive or call a cab. Brought to you by Alert 360 Security, providing security and video monitoring for your home and business for over 50 years. To learn more, visit online at alert360.com or give them a call at 770-984-0090. That's Alert 360 Security, urging you to always drive safely. Visit online at www.alert360.com.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. Okay, you're driving along. Suddenly you hear that horrible sound of metal and crunching. It's an accident. Even if it's a little minor fender bender, man, that could be a nightmare. First, obviously, take care of yourself. But before you make a deal with an insurance company or anybody else, call David Van Sant with Van Sant Law. You know why? Because he used to work for the insurance company, so he knows how to get the right settlement and right away. Van Sant Law. Don't forget, if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. Protecting your interests. Insurance is great, but it's complicated. 855-GA-INJURY or vansantlaw.com.
Hey, it's Front Office Lowe's here to tell you about a new company that is changing the way people buy their next pre-owned car or truck. At The Honest Car Guy, they offer a completely transparent way to purchase a vehicle. You pay what he pays, plus a small, honest fee. You can choose any make or model. He will search the country for the best deal out there. He'll handle the paperwork, your trade-in, shipping, and even give you the bill of sale. Friends, I've done the research, and this is a buying process that you can trust. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1 or visit online at honestcarguy.com.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's home floor advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing, flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300 Today.
Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
Extra 106.3 is live on your ride home with a Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder from 3 to 6 p.m.
FBI Director James Comey, FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, former FBI Director Christopher Wray all knew it was domestic terrorism, political motives, and they didn't fill that in the narrative because they didn't want it to look bad for Democrats. You know, you knew for years the Hunter laptop was real, was true, and actual stuff, and you never even, didn't investigate it, you didn't even talk about it, you denied anything about anything, and he actually had the balls to testify and actually say, Christopher Wray said, well, we didn't want to say anything about the laptop because we didn't want it to interfere with the election. By not saying anything, it interfered with the election, you dirty, rotten snake. He's a dirty, despicable slime bag. Well, we didn't want it to affect. It exactly affected the election by not telling the truth.
The Kimmer Show on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
The Supreme Court has ruled in Donald Trump's favor in some instances, has ruled against him in other instances. It's been a back and forth. Our extra legal expert, Phil Holloway, joins us on Extra 106.3 with Tug and Los. We're on the air until 10. Then Beck, Clay and Buck, and Kimmer, the afternoon show from 3 until 6. But let's start with the victory, Phil. Donald Trump can terminate people in the National Labor Relations Board and Merit System Protection Board. And that went pretty much along ideological lines there in the Supreme Court. The conservatives said, yes, you can fire anybody you want to that is in the executive branch. You have the ability to do that. But especially people that are appointed by Joe Biden that are going to be opposed to your agenda altogether. You have the right to fire them.
Yeah, so I'm looking at all these cases that we see with, I'm just calling it Lawfare 3, or maybe it's 4.0 now. But, what I'm seeing is these things breaking into certain categories. And you got to remember, the Constitution grants the President of the United States certain inherent exclusive powers, power to be the commander-in-chief, for example. When you're the chief executive, it says the executive power of the United States shall be vested in one president. And that's essentially, that's the executive power. Well, if these are executive departments, then the executive is the one who can staff them with personnel. So this is a power that's vested exclusively in the President of the United States. And it's in these types of cases, like also the one where the transgender policies that are being revoked and rescinded, and I guess it's just a big makeover in that area over in the Department of Defense. These types of things flow directly from this specific grant of power from the Constitution. Now, if you look at immigration, the president's power, he's got the power to manage foreign relations, which is kind of part of immigration. But the actual immigration laws come from Congress. They're written by Congress. The rules about asylum and the procedures that are involved in immigration and naturalization hearings, those all come from Congress. The president is delegated a good bit of Congress's power in how to manage that. But when we see things in the immigration context, it's when you're seeing a lot more, courts breaking away from the president's position. And it all goes back to essentially due process. You don't have any real right to hang on to a political appointed spot on a board somewhere in an executive branch. But when Congress and the United States decides through our legislative framework to give people in the United States some legal status, whether it's some kind of protected status,
TPS,
whether it's amnesty, or even a green card. Once the government gives somebody anything, once the government allows you, Tug, to have a driver's license, they can't take it away from you without due process. Now, what process you are due might not be much. And in the case of like an illegal alien who has no legal basis to be here in the first place, the only real process is take you to an immigration judge, says, are you here legally? Okay, no? Okay, you're out. And that's really it. It's really it.
Well, let's go back to the hiring and firing process. Because we did see a judge in the last 24 hours who's decided when it came to taking apart the Department of Education that suddenly you have a ruling. Now, a ruling, all right, you choose to go with it or not. And so I guess, you laid out how the president, the chief executive, has these abilities to make these choices as to hiring and firing, yet you continue to have, whether you want to call it lawfare or activists, you still have judges that are interfering with his ability according to the law.
Oh, they're definitely interfering with his ability, and this is the big problem because let's just say, okay, Los, you get elected president next time, you take office, you're supposedly in charge of the whole executive branch, and all of a sudden you get a whole bunch of judges saying, okay, you're not in charge of this part or that part or these three parts over here. The presidency has been harmed by taking away.
This would be an overstep of one branch into the power of another.
Yeah, this is the judicial branch taking away part of the executive branch and saying, okay, the president, even though you're the chief executive and this is supposed to be your domain, we're taking this domain away from you, this piece of it. And so when they say the presidency and the powers of the presidency have been harmed, we're not talking about Donald Trump's been harmed, Donald Trump's agenda's been harmed, which happens to be true. But the argument against these types of rulings is that the judicial branch should not be interfering so dramatically with the operations of the executive branch. If you want to say that, okay, the immigration authorities have skipped over one of the steps in due process that's required by the statute or whatever, fine. That's not really much of an infringement on the executive branch. But when you say that the chief executive cannot exercise dominion and control over significant swaths of the executive branch, now we got a problem.
So, but then, how do you repair this issue? What is it? What are the steps?
Do you just ignore it and just depend on the
That's exactly
Supreme
where I was
Court?
headed.
Yeah.
Do you pick and choose at some point because you know what they're doing is activist?
And that's a challenge that I have here, and Phil Holloway is our guest. For an administration that has made it a point to talk about law and order, and they're going to be the law and order presidency, and they're going to follow the law and order, this becomes a very difficult place to then ignore rulings, even though rulings aren't law.
Yeah, well, and with a lot of these rulings, as we see, are getting overturned. The one that you mentioned regarding the Department of Education may ultimately get overturned. By the way, the Department of Education was created, I think, by executive order with Jimmy Carter. So, as was USAID. So a lot of these things that have been around for a while doesn't mean that they have to be permanent. I think a future president can do a lot of work to undo them. But, what is the president to do? Okay, so the whole concept of ignoring a judicial order, I'm not ready to go that far to say that it's okay for any administration to ignore a ruling from the executive branch from the judicial branch, because they do have the power of judicial review. It's well settled. And so if this administration starts ignoring rulings that are clearly wrong, well, what about the next time when the
precedent sets?
When, say, conservatives challenge the next Democrat president for overstepping his bounds, and you've got a good legal argument for it? Do we want that next future or the future administration to be able to say, well, we're just going to ignore rulings we don't like? So I think that that's a slippery slope that we don't want to get into. It's kind of akin to blowing up the filibuster, right? It might seem like the thing to do in the near term, but the long-term implications of that could be even worse.
Well, the Democrats found that out. They're the ones that we're going to blow up the filibuster.
And
all
then,
right, fine, 51.
Yeah, right.
Good luck.
Done. Have at it. But at some point, there has to be some sort of corralling of this with these federal judges, right? This cannot continue to go on where they're taking a decision, a duly elected president's decision to do what he feels he's been elected to do, and you have judges that are clearly active as judges.
Yeah, Congress can fix a lot of this.
Well, there's the problem, and there lies the problem. The do-nothing Congress. Los and I were railing on him yesterday.
Phil, we were going through the numbers. As strong as Trump's numbers are, the Republicans in Congress can't apply that to themselves, because even within conservative movements, they're like, why are y'all not doing enough? Including fixing this.
Well, in this current big, beautiful bill, by the way, I saw Newsweek dug this out. There's a provision in there that will deal with the issue of these national injunctions, and it will require the party seeking the injunction to post some kind of a bond, so that in the event that they lose, then it's just one more little safeguard, and it's
Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, in a lot of contexts, you got to post a bond before you can get this kind of relief. And so maybe that'll pass, but Congress needs to get back to work, otherwise reining in the jurisdiction of these courts.
No doubt about it. Phil, thank you so much.
Always happy to be here.
Absolutely. Tell folks where to find you on social.
At Phil Holloway, HOLLOWAYESQ. At Phil Holloway ESQ on X. I talk about all this stuff.
There you go, right there. Los, safe travels to Florida.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, no.
I'm going to drive this thing like a NASCAR.
Safe travels for Los and Dre. I'm Tug. Y'all come back now. You hear?
The president said it himself.
America is back.
And Xtra 106.3 continues on as the only conservative news and talk station in Atlanta. The news changes by the day, and you can count on Xtra 106.3 to bring it to you straight every day without the spin. Xtra 106.3 FM and the Xtra app.